everyone. How are you? Hope you're all fine. And oh, this is our first day back to real life. Because of the way the holidays fell. The Christmas Day was on Sunday, so then they made Monday a national holiday. So it's just really nice. I've had some good relaxation, which is what I needed. Still recovering from my rotator cuff surgery. Tomorrow will be my first recheck. And I'm trying to recover the Instagram that was hacked by obviously the scumbag attackers. I've been watching for cars parked down my street and, you know, probably too cold to get a rat unless there's a frozen rat in my mailbox. But, I'll be on the lookout. I'll send out a bolo for a dead rat in my mailbox because I actually believe that, yeah, people would find my address, anybody's address, and go and drive and put a dead rat in somebody's mailbox because that's a federal offense. I heard that, I don't even remember where, but I heard that somebody thought that these scumbag attackers, you know, park and watch them. And how the hell would you know? There's cars all around, and unless you lived in outer Siberia where there's no people ever driving, why would you think that a car parked down the street or anywhere else would be there looking for you? About what? And then, if you did think that, why wouldn't you, call a non emergency line of the police department and say, hey, car is not one I recognize. It's been in the neighborhood for a little while and I feel weird about it. It's definitely suspicious. Would you mind doing like a drive by or run the plates? And they'll say, sure, they'll send a deputy out when they're, and say, hey, it's not an emergency. Don't send them out for anything else unless just, a little extra patrol in the neighborhood. Generally, they'll say, oh, yeah, and somebody will be out and they'll have a deputy or policeman, whatever you have in your county or city, and they'll run the plate if they find that it looks unusual as well, or the plates don't add up to what it says. They'll make contact. It's not a big deal. Why would anybody sit there and just freak out and be like, oh my God? And then I guess other people were saying that cars were following another person. And then, like I say, this weird rat thing. Honestly, like, that's a federal fucking. I would not mess with the federal postal police. They're actually police, but they have the ability to put you away doing a federal offense. Like, you touch a mailbox that isn't yours, you take mail that isn't addressed to yours, even if somebody told you to do it, other than the person who was not on the mail. So if somebody tells you to take mail, even if they're married to the other person, and that person that they're married to, so let's just say that SW told somebody to pick up the mail while she was gone. Well, the owner of the house isn't gone, so mail that's addressed to her could feasibly be picked up by somebody. But why wouldn't you just have your husband get the mail? What would be the problem with your husband getting the mail? Because he's home. So if indeed she did get the mail of somebody else who did not give her direct permission to get it, like Christopher Watts, that's a federal offense. I don't ever want to see a federal police badge darken my doorstep. They scare me. And putting a rat in somebody's mailbox, federal offense. Straight up. Where would you even get a dead rat? Like, that's the other thing about it. So it's like when I was hearing this and people are telling me that this will happen to me and whatever. Number one, like I say, my first question was, where were they getting these dead rats? And then I'm like, you know what? The probability of somebody sticking a rat in your mailbox, especially in the summer, probably a whole thing just wandered in trying to get shade and died in there. This isn't the Sopranos, You're a rat. And I mean, that's the thing is like, okay, we'll be saying you're a rat. Well, how would anybody think that some YouTube person is a rat? What are they doing that will make them a rat? A rat is when people tell people things to the police that they shouldn't have or whatever. due to bro code. So unless you're like in bro code and you're in the mafia and stuff, I don't even get it. Oh, and then I was told that, oh yeah, the scumbag attackers start seeing you and they're like, oh, I like your channel. Let me buy you a new chair and a new microphone. And I'm like, you know what? I started this channel in June and I've been waiting. You know what? Had to use my own money to buy both a microphone, a laptop, well, actually, all three things, and a chair. Because you know what? No scumbag attacker came and offered me those things. So I don't even know that I believe, half of the stuff. I mean, surely there are hackers. Now, being that I had my main account on Instagram for over 10 years, so the fact I don't even have the original email or phone number to have recovered it, and then once I added on another account for my YouTube, which had my YouTube user name of Tabitha Jane Zero, well, I've had the main Instagram account for over 10 years. I started the Instagram account linked to it probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it got hacked, which got to one of my credit cards, which, like, as I shared last night, my bank shut it right down. So yeah, they got a couple of things. So what? It's all covered. My account, I'll be getting a new ATM card and whatever. It took me like 4 hours tonight trying to unscrew my Instagram account. I think I'm close, but I don't know for sure. So the odds are that was by somebody who's trying to hack my account and find out who I am. By the odds of probability, just because the timing is weird, but it could have just been coincidental because it looked like a new Instagram account, and I had it set to public. So, maybe. I mean, if somebody's out there and they're trying to figure out who I am and everything like that, well, I just tell you, I'm 50 years old, average name, average looks, just average. I'm just average. Nothing special about me. You don't need to look. There you go. So anyway, without further ado, thank you for listening, and we're going to start back on 504, page 504 of 1960. Now, I was so excited that I got over page 500, and even more excited that a couple more people have joined our journey of truth. So now we are at 823. We're 823 strong, trying to find out the truth and the facts of what has happened around here. And I think that there are so many things I'm learning in here that I had never heard, that I had never seen the whole story, where it came from, how this story, became this and the genesis of it. And I really like it. And I can just say that I'm doing damage control in my own mind, saying that what I had heard before and thought was true may not be. And until I see it and see where something started, those of us who are college graduates, okay, those of you who got bachelor's degrees, what did you do the whole time? You wrote papers endlessly. They had to be properly formatted, and you had to cite your sources. And you couldn't just say that Bob down the block told you. You had to have credible sources. You couldn't, take something off of the Google unless you could find that Google led to an article that was peer-reviewed, that was, definitely credible, believable, had other areas where they had found the information that they were using and they were evaluating, etc., etc. So here we are, and I am going down and I'm citing the source. And until somebody can tell me that they can cite the source of where they found something, I don't even believe it anymore. I don't believe that somebody called somebody and said this and that and whatever, because where is that somebody? Who was it that called? And then what came from that phone call? A bunch of stuff that they made a whole channel out of, that now this channel just makes fun of people's eyebrows. I don't know. Not for me. Not for me. Not for me. I am so proud that there's 823 of us who like trying to find out where everything came from and what is true and what is not. Ultimate goal, once again, is so that children like Bella and Cece have a chance at being saved from a lifetime of abuse, because nobody was watching what was really going on in that house. People were gullible, and all of the people in her life, with the exception of very few, were also in an MLM. Now, Some people say that to be in an MLM, you're a certain kind of person. Does that mean you're a bubbly person? Does it mean you're a smart person? Does it mean that you're a gullible person? Does it mean that you're a person who uh, believes in the odds? I mean, what are the odds that, the 97 people who sign up aren't even going to make a buck of profit? What do you say about people who go into MLMs? So I think that, to me, I think that people who, and remember, I sold 2 MLMs. I currently am in recovery from my MLM selling. Both of the products I sold, I still really like. But I don't like the direction in which One Way went, and I don't like the way in which Tupperware has gone either. And I've shared that with you, where it's not the same as it was, and it's really hard to make any money on it because you have to pay the tax and the shipping, which shipping right now is exorbitant, which everybody knows. And they've all went digital, so it's just, what are you going to make? You're going to make like 10% of what you sell somebody. So it's like, okay, you sell somebody, a spatula, and you're going to make 82 cents. It's like, unless you get that volume, and it's just really hard to do. It's just not there. The other one I haven't really talked about what I sold. I will someday. It's just, I'm still feeling the burn. But on both, I never put in more than I made. So I put in the initial investment buying the kits. I made what I put in, and then when I made over what I had invested, then I reinvested that money into product. And then I invested that money into events where I would go and sell my wares all over, but by the time you're done with gas and setting up everything and sitting on your duff for 8 hours, it's really not worth it. You think of, gosh, how much would I make if I had a job that I sat around and, just because by the time the drive and the drive back and setting up and sitting around, how much would I have made even if I had minimum wage? So it's really hard to make any money. So you have to really like the product you're selling. So to me, I have to say that people who sign up and go overboard where they have their MLM be their lifestyle, I believe that those are people that see something and believe that they can be what they see in a picture. I feel sometimes that people who are in MLMs are kind of out of touch with reality and being realistic about how much you can profit and how much dedication it takes. There's some really good channels that cover this. I like CC Suarez, Suarez, and then I like oh gosh, I can't even remember her name. And then Hannah, oh, what's her name? But yeah, there's like 3 girls that I really like that cover anti-MLM, and they do a really good job at it with the facts and the truth. And it's interesting. I'll write down those things because I should know those things, but I just can't think of what they are right now. They all had sold as well. I think all 3 did. So they're like me, where they know how hard it is to profit. But so by me saying that this group of MLM people who all seem to be, whenever I'm going through this discovery, I keep finding that, oh, and what do you know? They know this person, and what do you know? This spouse sells this. Right down to her ex-husband's new wife selling it. Okay? They're all separated by 1 degree of MLM. And when you look at it, each MLM family member, whatever, they are out there trying to create an image on their social media profiles just the same as the ads are. showing that they can do all this stuff because the lifestyle, and they're modeling themselves and saying that they are successful just like the company says they are. And if you want to be just like them, just give them a call. No, they're trying to con you because they're trying to make their money back off of your ass. Straight up. Because they don't mind taking money from you and taking food off of your table, food from your children. They don't mind because they know that if they get you involved, you're going to do the same. And then you're going to go and predate one of your friends and take money off of their table, money from their children. It's all kind of gross. It all goes to that pyramid. The pyramid is a pyramid for a reason, and the house never loses. And so, if you believe what these people are purporting, if these people that believe MLMs and then they go and create these commercials of their house too, that, oh, everything is perfect and everything looks perfect. Yeah, SW made her life look perfect. She did a good job of making her life look perfect. She learned it from her mother. As I search a little more into the mother, it's interesting because where is her mother-in-law? Where's Frankie's family? Where's Frank's family? Where's Frankie Jr.'s other grandparents? Like, what did he know of his grandparents? Does Frankie Jr. and did SW know their paternal grandparents? Did SW's mom like her mother-in-law? You know, where did SW learn to emasculate in the ways that she did? I don't know. But the bottom line is that by evaluating this and reevaluating this and looking at everything, while it might have looked good, it wasn't. And what can we learn that we can teach others so that when they start seeing this, they ask more questions than they would have when they're like, okay, this looks too good to be true. Is it? You know? And if we can get to a better place where we all understand what abuse looks like, it doesn't just look like some gross, scummy, hairy family walking down the street hitting their kids. Nope. Abusive families look like the one that we're looking right at, the one that looked perfect. I mean, didn't anybody watch Mommy Dearest? My goodness. Okay, and here I am starting to eat some sunflower seeds again. I think I'm like a squirrel. When I start looking for the information in here, I start wanting to grab a nut. So, you know, eating a little handful of nuts. Or my one hand at work. Oh my God. All right. So, there we go. Okay, so we're starting on 504. And this is where we left off. Because it was kind of intense. This is the cam burglar. She wrote out a bunch of stuff pretty much in bullet style. Bullet point where all these facts are laid out. So that might be why everybody's fascinated with her. Because she put it together really nicely in here. And so she might be up to like 4 points in my book. There we go. So, we left off in one of these sentences. And I'll just kind of go on. I think it's where Chris came home for the first 2 weeks of August. They all come back together. It didn't say came, it says come back. I think that's about where I stopped. While I'm gobbling these few nuts here, please make sure that you're subscribed and that you like this video. Or even if you unlike it, you can put unlike. But I'm doing really good on this series. And I've gotten like 100% likes. The only videos I've ever done that got so many unlikes was when Scoundrella was on the stairs and wouldn't let people pass her. I don't know. I don't know why people put the unlikes, because they were like, oh my god, if they had that on her stairs, it'd be terrifying. Or why they, well, come back here. Come back here. Nope, you're not doing that. Nope, come back. Where? I got Boo Boo down for a nap. I started trying to record like 3 or 4 hours ago. And then he was like acting really, really crazy. And then that's where I started trying to recover my Insta. Like I say, I think it took three and a half hours between Boo Boo acting up and Instagram trying to fix it. But by the time I got in to my Insta, it said like they were going to delete the account forever had I not, like tried to get in it by today or whatever. Well, it's not for lack of effort, I'll tell you that. So, and here it says Chris is saying he is the person trying to save the marriage and Shanann does not want it. Nicole found an apartment that was really nice for him. Okay. These are coming from her in her interview. And they had planned on looking at apartments the week of August 13th. The apartment was only for him and his family. Nicole has her own house, and he had never asked her to move in with him. Now, this is interesting to me because he knew that his wife was going to be home the week of the 13th. So how was he going to go looking at apartments when she had just came home after being gone for 6 weeks and then plus the Arizona? That doesn't make sense. I mean, he had the 6 weeks prior without them home to look at apartments, with the exception of when he was in North Carolina as well. So a prosecutor could really reel in on that and say he planned that because he knew she wasn't going to be there. I mean, that's a point for the prosecution, definitely. And it says he had never asked her to move in with him. Speaking of Nicole, they never talked about marriage, meeting his kids, or cutting the mom out. It was never like that. They never had a conversation of being able to do this with Shanann or the children around. Okay, I'm going to read that one more time. It said, they never had a conversation of not being able to do this with Shanann or the children around. I don't know. Chris did tell her he had a budget for his apartment, which is $1,100 to $1,400. I know that I read this last night, but I'm just kind of trying to get warmed up back into where we were. Says she knew they had been in financial trouble. When she went to the house, everything in there was very nice. He has an expensive Lexus. She knew he does not make enough money to pay for all of that stuff. She considered Shanann a sales representative, but Nicole did not know how much Shanann made. Chris said she made close to the amount of money as he did. Chris never discussed his bankruptcy with Nicole. He said Shanann spends most of the money. He was frustrated Shanann had bad spending habits. Nicole thought the Lexus was Shannon's. Shanann's. Nicole didn't think they owned any other cars. Chris had his Anadarko truck, but cannot drive it when not at work. He said Shanann wanted everyone to think they lived a certain way and they could not afford it. He was never mean or hostile when he mentioned it. This is where I'm talking about the images. The house was part of that image that she wanted to act like she could afford and she couldn't. But she made it look like she had it made. And that made other people want to do what she did because, she made it look so easy. It made it look like, if you do this, you won't ever get frustrated with your kids or anything. But, He told Nicole that he and Shanann were housebroke all the time. Nicole asked if his lifestyle was sustainable, and he said no. He never told Nicole where his kids went to school. He never discussed the cost of daycare. Chris said Shanann was bossy. Nicole thought he was saying his voice is not heard when he voices his opinion. He said Shanann never acknowledged him. He said he addressed it and it seemed like she is not interested anymore. He talked about their relationship lasting as long as it has because of his children. Chris said he and Shanann had had communication issues for 6 years. So what? They were together for 8, communication issues for 6, and Bella was 4. Now this is signed by Agent Kobach. Wait a minute. Was this not Tammy Lee's anymore? Did I make a mistake? Let me see. And this was page... Offense on felony, property number 4, CBI 3 of 14. And this is indeed by... Number 2, 1 of 14, at Thornton. Reporting LEO was Kevin and Timothy. I'm sorry, I thought this was still, this was Tammy Lee. I'm sorry about that. So this is the 2 guys with, Nicole and her father. I'm sorry, that's what this one is. Okay. I totally just watched out on that. I'm sorry. Okay, well, let's go over here. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay, so... Okay. If we go over to 505... There we go. Okay, I'm sorry about that, guys. So we're on page 4 of this 14-page document, which is Discovery page 571, which is page 504 of 1960. Now, I have really become a fan of peppermint tea after dinner. I found some really good peppermint tea. It's organic peppermint herbal tea. I found it at Trader Joe's. I think it's like $2 for 20 tea bags. And it's actually really good and really full of flavor. A lot of the Tazo tea bags I get, I have to put 2 tea bags in for them to really taste like anything. So these are really good because they really last. And I figure while I'm spilling the tea, I better literally drink the tea, right? In with the tea, out with the tea. So here we go, and it says Chris had never mentioned Shanann was pregnant in any conversation with Nicole. He lied to her because she would have never wasted her time on him in the first place. Chris never talked bad about Shanann being a bad mother. When he came back from North Carolina, Nicole saw him a few times. She saw him last Wednesday and this Saturday, August 11th of 2018. He wanted to see her more, but she wanted her space. Wednesday, he came to her house. On Saturday, they went to the Lazy Dog off 144th and I-25. They went to another Lazy Dog at 120th and Federal prior, but did not eat there. Chris never mentioned a Rockies game that night. He got a young babysitter that night who was 17 years old, and he could only stay out until 10 p.m. He came to her home around about 5:30 p.m. They drove her truck, a Toyota 4Runner, to dinner. He left to be home by 10. He text messaged her later that night and said he had stopped on the way home to get cash to pay the babysitter. During their dinner on Saturday, they discussed his fitness. Chris lost 13 pounds during the time they were dating. Wonder how he burned off that many calories, right? Must have been getting some good cardio in with her, right? Doing the doggy. Wasn't she into yoga doing the downward dog? Like I say, spilling the tea here. Drinking the tea, stirring the tea, spilling the tea. Shanann was in Arizona on August 11th, 2018. Chris told Nicole she was on a business trip. He said she was coming home really late on Sunday. Chris told Nicole Celeste is allergic to nuts. Chris told Nicole she had an EpiPen for the allergy. There had been an argument while in North Carolina regarding ice cream and nuts that she had been exposed to that involved Shanann and Chris's family. Shanann was very upset about this event. Chris told Nicole his own family ignored him while in North Carolina because of this. Chris said his mother and Shanann did not get along prior to this event. Chris never told Nicole if Shanann ever had any medical conditions. Nicole said her relationship with Chris was healthy. She said they were intimate during this relationship. She said Chris told her he loved her, and she said she told him she loved him as well. And Chris also wrote he loved her in cards, and she felt he was genuine when he said he loved her. She said Chris sent her flowers and cards and had become very attached to her during their short relationship. Ooh, where did he get the money to buy cards and flowers? Because if he ran out of money for the lazy dog, had enough for the sitter. I mean, he didn't run out of money. It was just that she was questioning it, I guess. And then there wasn't enough for her to buy her hair shit later. Nicole said her friends never knew about him because it was like he was with two women right now. If he had been divorced, she didn't believe that she would have told anyone about him. It wasn't fair to his family for him to have an affair. Nicole still didn't know what was truthful or what was a lie. If she would have known some of this, she would have never engaged in any of this in the first place. Now, mind you, her daddy's sitting right there. Nicole began to cry when talking about Chris's children and the situation overall, and Shanann being pregnant. She said she just couldn't understand how anyone could do this. She was obviously upset, and we discussed her getting mental health assistance. Okay, so maybe they brought that up, and then maybe that's why she called and was like, hey, what are those numbers? What are, like, those numbers? Like, oh my God, like, I'm just, like, so upset. Like, why? Like, why did he do this? I'm just so little. Oh my God, why? Remember that one? Anyway, the interview with Nicole continued, and she stated, we discussed a phone call between Nicole and Chris between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Sunday night. She was not certain what they talked about during this call. She recalled hearing a television on during the call. She said there was not a television in the basement, so she did not know where he was and why he was watching vision when it was so late. She said this is odd behavior for him. She recalled thinking Chris may have been waiting up for Shanann to get home. During this call, He told Nicole he had to go to the field, not the office, on Monday morning. He said he had to go check on a valve where there was a release, in parentheses. Release, in parentheses. He said he would not see her in the morning. She said this is not uncommon, but typically he goes to the office. She said usually 3 to 4 days a week he goes to the office. And she recalled on Sunday, August 12th, 2018, that Chris went to a birthday party with his kids. She recalled his kids had a water balloon fight. Oh, I love that for the balloons. She did not know whose home he went to. Nicole said she went to the Denver Museum of Nature and Science on Sunday with her family. She never saw Chris on Sunday. Nicole recalled there is a camera on the front door of Chris's home. She said he never used a key to access the house. She could not recall the access pad on the front door, but said Chris never gave her an access code to access his home. She did not have an access code to the home security system. Nicole recalled talking to Chris on Monday, August 12th. She said she did not hear a lot from Chris that day. He texted that it was a busy day. Nothing he said was alarming that day. She said she left work at 3 p.m. according to her time card. She returned home to a good friend, Jim. She returned home to a good friend, Jim. And in parentheses, she refused to provide his last name and said he does not know anything about this event and does not know Chris. Jim was her house guest on Monday. She said Jim is a very close friend, but they do not date each other. You guys remember hearing about Jim? Don't bring Jim into this. No, I don't want Jim to know. No, Jim is my friend. No. He knows nothing about this. This is Jim. Just leave Jim out of it, okay? Leave Jim out of it, please. Remember that? Mm-hmm. So anyway, she recalled getting home, and Chris texted her something about his family being gone. She thought the text came in around 3:45 p.m. She felt the text message was purposely sent at that time by Chris. This is the first text he sent Nicole about his family being missing. Chris also asked Nicole to call him. She said this text did not concern her at first, but when he asked her to call him, she became concerned. Nicole called Chris about 4 p.m. They had a short conversation with him, saying the police were at his house. Saying the police were there and Shanann's friend Nikki was there and she had called the police. Chris said Nikki was upset and the cops were searching his house. She recalled Chris saying he and Shanann had a disagreement. He told Nicole Shanann was going to a friend's house. Nicole remembered thinking maybe Shanann just left. Chris then told her that Shanann's cell phone and purse were still at the house. Nicole thought maybe Shanann was in a rush and left the stuff behind, but knowing Shanann was always on her phone, Nicole found it strange. She recalled at this time that Chris had previously told her that the house was going to be put on the market the week of August 13th, 2018. Chris said Nikki insisted they called the police. Nicole said she doesn't know Nikki. Chris said via text that he thought his wife was with someone and she'll be back tonight in text messages. During a phone call, they discussed Shanann leaving, and he again said that he thought she was at a friend's. We'll be back tomorrow. He made it sound like Shanann was just upset and had left the house. He also said the kids were gone. Chris said he was going to work tomorrow. Nicole told him to stay home and help the police. Chris was worried about Shanann seeing his truck, so Nicole told him to move his truck so she would not be scared to come home. She told him to have a friend with him, so if they had a conflict when she returned, there would be someone there. She also told Chris if someone was not there and they got into an argument to turn on his phone and record the argument. Sage advice from NA. I mean NK, I do apologize, NA. You did nothing to be called. No, NK. Sorry, NK. You did nothing to be called NA. Nicole recalled Shanann not coming home on Monday night. She said Chris told her a story that Shanann had asked him to wake her up before he left for work on Monday morning. Chris said he went to get her up. In parentheses, Shanann is usually sleeping when he leaves, according to Nicole. He said she woke up and they got into an argument and she was being pretty mean. She told Chris that she is pregnant and the kid was not his. Say it again. She told Chris that she is pregnant and said the kid is not his. Nicole said he was playing like he did not know Shanann was pregnant, even though she was 15 weeks pregnant. Only 11, but you know. Nicole? Whoa, no, I'm not buying anything from Microsoft Store. Stop it. Close, stop, there. Nicole asked Chris if he believed Shanann was pregnant, as she did not find out until Tuesday in the media that she was. And Chris said she was showing in North Carolina. And Nicole said Chris was just saying all this stuff to lie to her and protect their relationship. Chris never said what time the argument started, and Chris woke Shanann up because she asked him to. Nicole believed Chris told her Shanann came home around 2 a.m. Nicole said Chris's story was believable and said he thought Shanann may have just said she was pregnant out of spite. At this time, Nicole still believed Shanann had only left her house with her children. Chris never asked Nicole to come to her home. Okay. On Tuesday, August 13, 2018, Nicole asked Chris multiple times where his family was. He said he did not know, and they were not home. Chris said he had a friend named, in parentheses, Dave, who is a policeman. Chris said he called Dave and asked him to sit outside his house, and he agreed to do so. Chris also mentioned his friend Nick was coming to his home. She had never heard Dave's name prior to this conversation, and she knew what Dave was involved in this investigation now. On Tuesday, during her break, she reviewed the media and found Shanann was 15 weeks pregnant. She said she was concerned because a 4-month pregnant woman will be showing, and she knew Chris was lying. She recalls primarily texting with Chris on Tuesday. She did not recall talking with Chris. She confronted Chris about Shanann being 15 weeks pregnant. Chris asked if this ruins everything with their relationship, and she told him to focus on his family. She told Chris she knew the child was his and was not from an affair of Shanann's. She continued to encourage him to go find his family. Nicole confronted Chris to stop lying. She said on Tuesday she started to become suspicious of Chris. She said he did not seem to be concerned, as he should be, and he was more concerned with their relationship. Nicole does not believe Chris ever went to look for his family. Nicole recalled speaking with Chris on Monday night, and he was sleeping. She thought this was strange due to the situation with his family. Nicole challenged Chris about Shanann being pregnant. Chris then told Nicole Shanann was pregnant with his child. Chris continued to ask Nicole if their relationship was okay after telling Nicole that the child was his. He also expressed concern for his wife and children during these text messages. Nicole asked Chris to delete his text messages to keep their relationship secret from his friends. Nicole told Chris to contact her after his family is found. Ooh. That's a good one for like the mistress doing it. Yeah, call me when your family is found. Ooh, because if he did disappear, then well. Nicole said she questioned Chris what he had done, and he said he'd done nothing. Nicole texted Chris and said if he had done something bad, he was going to ruin his life and her life. And Chris responded saying he had not hurt his family. Nicole said this was their last text message on Tuesday. At this time, Nicole started to think Chris had hurt his family, as he lied to her and Shanann had not returned. And that she does not have her car, purse, EpiPen. Nicole said she was scared because she did not know who Chris was anymore. Nicole recalled another conversation on August 13, 2018, Monday. Chris told Nicole Shanann had left her wedding ring at the house. Asked Nicole how much she thought the ring was worth. She responded by telling him to pawn it. He was going to get the ring appraised. Chris also mentioned in North Carolina he wanted the separation and previously had said Shanann wanted the separation. I'm going to read that again. It's interesting that she told him to pawn it. It says, Nicole recalled another conversation on August 13th, 2018. Chris told Nicole Shanann had left her wedding ring at the house. Chris told Nicole how much she thought the ring was worth. Chris asked Nicole how much she thought the ring was worth. She responded by telling him to pawn it. He said he was going to get the ring appraised. Chris also mentioned in North Carolina and he wanted the separation and had previously had said Shanann wanted the separation. Again, guys, there's no punctuation. There's run-on sentences. Even though this is bullet style and it's a little bit easier, it's still weird because different words are not put in there. And if he had bought the engagement ring or engagement wedding ring for her, wouldn't he roughly know how much it was worth? Like, wouldn't he know the size of the carats that he had invested in and, have a kind of ballpark figure of how much he could get if he pawned it? I don't know. If that was the only thing, if the phone wasn't there, then yeah, you could kind of think that maybe but the phone really did it for me. The ring didn't do it for me. Let's see. Nicole said she saw the interview with Chris and said his eyes looked different and it looked like he did not have a soul. She said he looked like a different man. Nicole spoke with her father about the situation and they decided to come to the police. She said she wished she had come in earlier, but it took her a few days to process what was going on. Chris never said anything about hurting his wife or his children during any of those conversations and had never done so during his relationship with Nicole. Nicole thought if she was not in Chris's life, his family might still be alive, but not permanently. She does not believe he just snapped. Nicole does not think she is the only catalyst for this event. She does not believe that being in Chris's life may have accelerated the process. Oh, she does believe. She does believe that being in Chris's life may have accelerated the process. She said Chris and Shanann did not get along well and their financial life was so troubling. She said Chris was struggling with finances and now he had a third kid on the way and she doesn't know if he could afford another kid. Shanann was not responsive to his financial trouble. Nicole said Chris always told her he wanted a third child and wanted a boy. Nicole said she is very financially stable, and Chris said he did not know women like her existed. Nicole feels money is the biggest catalyst for this event happening. I agree. Nicole recalled Chris never told her about his bankruptcy. Nicole could not think of an answer for why Chris would have hurt his children. The only thing she could think of was that the kids may have seen him killing Shanann, so he chose to kill them as well. She said Chris loved his children. Okay. Now, this is interesting because Nicole says Nicole could not think of an answer for why Chris would have hurt his children. The only thing she could think of was that the kids may have seen him killing Shanann, so he chose to kill them as well. She said Chris loved his children. If we take this one sentence out, where it says, the only thing she could think of was that the kids may have seen him killing Shanann, so he chose to kill them as well. That's interesting because Tammy Lee suggested that, but in reverse. That Tammy Lee said, Christopher, did you do this because she was hurting the girls? You know, like that. So it's interesting that Nicole would have considered almost a similar scenario, because it's hard for us all to consider that anyone would have hurted those little girls, but let alone the one parent who truly seemed like he loved them, the one that was actually hands-on taking care of them. You know, when you see the pictures of him trying to, having to mow the lawn with Bella or Cece strapped on his back, him having to do the dishes with one of them strapped on his back and one on the front. I mean, he had to do everything because she wasn't hands-on. So you don't see him being able to harm these girls. It's hard. I don't know what happened. Like I say, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I have more questions than I have answers, and more questions now than I ever did. But it's interesting that that's where her guess went. So then it says, I inquired with Nicole about her friend Charlotte. A text message was located between Charlotte and Nicole that appeared to reference Nicole dating another person. Probably Jim. Charlotte is engaged and is her closest friend. Nicole said she never dated any other person, and Chris would have had no reason to think she was dating anybody else. She said Chris was never jealous about her seeing anyone else. She said she had talked with other men on eHarmony, but had never dated any of them. And the way that they put this word in was dating. So it says, but never had dating any of them instead of dated. Agent Tim Martinez asked questions of Nicole. Nicole stated the following. And they misspelled Chris again. Chris. So, Chris. Chris was always more into her than she was into him. Oh, that's just, I don't like that. You can just see her saying that, though. Like, he's more into me than I am into him. Like, oh my gosh. And then when you see her, being the sand creature in the sand dunes with a scarf around and the sunglasses, and she's like, Christopher, thank you for taking me here. Thank you for spending this time with me, Christopher. Me that you did this. It's like, you were equally into him as he was into you, ma'am. What I'm saying. Christopher Watts had a type. If you look at these two, they could be cousins in looks. but they also were unattainable in their own right. NK seems to have a fear of intimacy, and SW seems like she doesn't know how to be intimate. And intimate and intimacy, I'm not talking about in the sexual way, I'm talking about emotionally. Both were emotionally unavailable to some degree. Chris and Nicole had discussed long-term plans. She asked him if he did not have the big house, what would his house look like? Chris said he would have a smaller ranch house. They agreed to have more of a simple life. Said Nicole talked about marriage offhanded. Those were not deep conversations. She first met him in May or early June. Chris had worked for Anadarko for 5 to 6 years, and he did supervise people. Chris never complained of any medical issues. Nicole never thought he had any mental or psychological issues. Nicole does not believe Chris was dating anybody else. Their relationship was sexual shortly after they met and remained sexual consistently. Chris has sent her Chris has sent her photos of his penis and other workout videos. Word that even like what, your penis is working out, so you're working out your penis. They have to say penis. Chris and Nicole were last intimate at her home on Saturday, August 11th, 2018. They were intimate when Chris picked her up prior to going to the Lazy Dog and immediately following getting back to her home from the Lazy Dog restaurant. Damn. So they porked twice on Saturday night before SW got home. And then, isn't there their theory, or didn't Christopher say that him and Shanann is a machine? Maybe I should get a package of those stickers. Slap a few on my husband. Good Lord. Chris mentioned that Shanann never let him openly communicate. Nicole knew of no other stressors other than finances. Chris mainly complained that Shanann would never listen to him. Chris also said Shanann would talk shit to him in front of his children, and the children were starting to repeat it. Chris said he tried to ask Shanann for something, and she said shut up, and he did not know anything. His children started to repeat this, and it made Chris very sad, and this is when he realized he needed to separate from her. Chris always told Nicole Shanann was a good mom. There was no indication of any abuse or other concern. Nicole asked multiple questions regarding the upcoming legal process and her employment. No further questions were asked of Nicole, and the interview was ended. Nothing further. The investigation continues. Now it has this thing of all the attachments. And then it's just the investigative report. And now it says the polygraph and interview with Christopher Watts on 8/15/18. And this went from 11 o'clock in the morning until 2100 at night. So that is actually 9 o'clock at night. So they had him in questioning, beginning with a polygraph. So polygraph and interview from 11 in the morning until 9 at night. So 10 hours. A good lawyer would be able to have a heyday with just that right there. The time that they had him and that they broke him down. They shook him down. They broke him down. A good lawyer would do that. And this is reported from none other than Agent Tammy Lee. It was approved by, guess who? Agent in charge, Kirby Quinn Lewis. This here is Frederick Police Department Detective Dave Baumhover requested that I, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, CBI agent Tammy Lee, conduct a polygraph on Christopher Lee Watts, age 33, birth date 5/16/85. The polygraph was in reference to Watts' possible involvement or knowledge in the disappearance of his pregnant wife, Shanann Watts, age 34, birth date 1/10/1984, and their two young daughters, Bella, age 4, birth date 12/17/2013, and Celeste, Cece, age 3, 7/17/2015. The polygraph conducted on Wednesday, August 15th, 2018, at which time Watts showed deception indicated, in parentheses DI, on his polygraph. Then it says address number 1 occurred at 2825 Saratoga Trail. And then it repeats it on the primary information. 2825 Saratoga Trail, Frederick, Colorado, 80530, United States. Subject 1, victim number 1, Bella Watts. Exempt from disclosure. Subject name, Watts Bella. She's a person, 4-year-old. Birth date 12/17/2013. And yes, she is a juvenile. Sadly, this states that yes, she is deceased. And the second one says Celeste. Yes. Exempt from disclosure. Name is Celeste Watts, and she is indeed a person. 3 years old, white female. Birth date 7/17/2015. Yes, a juvenile. Yes, deceased. Alias of C.C. Watts. Victim number 3. Watts Shanann, a person, 34-year-old white female. Birth date 1/10. Not a juvenile. And deceased, yes. Subject number 1. Watts Christopher Lee. He is a person, 33 years old, white male, 5/16/85, not a juvenile. Occupation is a field coordinator, and his social security number is redacted. And it said it was not fictitious. And his alias information is Chris Watts. And here we are. Now we are at page 512 out of 1,960, and we are on Discovery page 579. We are on page 2 of a 34-page document. So, in just a second, I have to take care of something here. Sorry about that. Hold on. I'll let it slide this one time. So they're having their Christmas party? What are you yelling? Well, why don't you put one and one together? What Okay. Sorry, everyone. I asked my kiddos to get me a banana shake when they were out. And it turns out that the restaurant was closed for their employee party. And so I had told them I'd have to let it slide. I wanted a banana shake. I like a banana shake. Sometimes I like a chocolate banana shake, but mainly just a vanilla banana shake. It just sounds so good. So anyway, I had to live without it. And here I go. So the synopsis here is, and thank you for being patient for that little interruption. So, Frederick Police Department Detective Dave Baumhover and requested that I, Colorado Bureau of Investigation Agent Tammy Lee, conduct a polygraph on Christopher Lee Watts, age blah 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 blah. The polygraph was in reference to Watts' possible involvement or knowledge in the disappearance of his pregnant wife, Shanann Watts, and their 2 young daughters. Okay. Their birth dates, I'm not going to go through them again. And the polygraph was conducted on Wednesday, August 15, 2018, at which time Watts showed deception indicated, in parentheses, DI on his polygraph. Action taken. On Wednesday, August 15, 2018, Chris Watts, Chris is in parentheses, voluntarily consented to a recorded polygraph interview. The interview took place at the Frederick Police Department, which was located at 333 5th Street in Frederick, Colorado. It was my understanding the primary purpose of the interview was to determine if Watts had any knowledge or involvement in the disappearance of his wife and 2 young daughters. The day before the polygraph interview, I assisted the Frederick Police Department with the initial investigation into the disappearance of Shanann, Bella, and Celeste Watts. I also observed a voluntary interview with Chris, which was conducted the prior evening by FBI Special Agent S.A. Graham Coder. Oh, here we go. We've got Coder in the room. We know that. Okay. And Coder, I think, was the one who had the big dick stuck in his throat where he's always going, right? So anything that I read of him, I might have to do that, right? Like, dude, get the dick out of your throat, man. So anyway, during the interview with S.A. Coder, Watts denied having any knowledge regarding the whereabouts of his wife and children. Watts was also adamant there was no infidelity in his marriage of any kind. Okay. Christopher Watts, at this point, you needed to say, yes, you were having an affair with the polygrapher, because that would have helped you. You know, it would have been like, yeah, I'm a little shithead. I've been a naughty boy, but I was getting separated, so what the F? Okay? It's not essential. It's not, well, and maybe that's what he was thinking. Maybe he's thinking it wasn't infidelity because we are separated. Maybe that's what he was thinking. So in his mind, he wasn't lying. But anyway, he shouldn't have consented to a polygraph anyway. He should have gotten a lawyer and shut his mouth. So, S.A. Coder asked Chris if he would be willing to take a polygraph, and Chris agreed. Chris stated he had to pick up his father, Papa Ronnie, later identified as Ronnie Watts, age 62, Papa Ronnie, from the airport early the next morning. So the polygraph was scheduled for Wednesday, August 15th, 2018 at 11 o'clock a.m. Chris then left the Frederick Police Department for the evening. It should be noted that approximately 3 hours before the polygraph was scheduled to begin, at 8 o'clock a.m., I received a phone call from Anadarko Regional Security Manager, Tony Husky. Husky advised he had reviewed Chris's computer network traffic, and it was possible Chris had started a relationship with an Anadarko contracted employee. Husky advised that he located emails between Chris and the contracted employee, who he identified as Nicole, in parentheses, Nikki Kessinger, age 30. Husky said it appeared a relationship between Chris and Kessinger started around June of 2018. Husky further explained Kessinger was on the geosciences side of the company and helped survey land. Husky advised he would be forwarding the emails to law enforcement as soon as it was cleared by their legal department. The emails received by Husky are attached to this report. Oh man, their legal must have been like, oh shit. Pretest interview. On Wednesday, August 15, 2018, at approximately 11 o'clock a.m., S.A. Coder met Chris in the lobby of the Frederick Police Department and escorted him to a private interview room inside the police department. Chris was wearing a short-sleeved North Carolina Tar Heels t-shirt, black athletic shorts, and black flip-flops. No wedding ring. I greeted Chris inside the interview room and the door was shut. I'm not wedding ring now. I hardly ever do. I get like weird claustrophobic if I wear any jewelry. Like necklaces seriously freak me out. And like my sling right now, I don't have that beast on because I keep freaking out about it and making it all screwed up. And then I try to fix it and then I just have to throw it off and spaz out. So, on there, but come on. You know? And then most mechanics won't wear a wedding ring because they can get it caught in engine work and whatnot. So he might have gotten in the habit of not wearing his wedding ring, to work and to places maybe, only out like special occasions. Kind of like me. Then when I'm out, like I last like an hour and then I end up putting it in my purse. Just so weird. So anyway, I greeted Chris inside the interview room and the door was shut. I told Chris the door automatically locks from the inside, but there was a key inserted into the lock that could be turned to open the door. I also explained to Chris the door was shut for privacy, but he was not under arrest and could leave at any time. Chris said he understood. It should be noted, I was not wearing a gun, badge, handcuffs, magazines, or any other police insignia during the polygraph and interviews. Yeah, we know, Tammy Lee. We know that you were wearing that Hamburglar outfit. Just looked like you just absconded with a bunch of cheeseburgers, but other than that, you just wanted us to know that, you didn't have your official gear on. You were just kind of acting chill, massage therapist. That you were just there to be his buddy, his lady, his friend in the corner. All right, let me see. Oh, I have to arrange myself here. Be very dramatic about it. Have you guys noticed that? Let me see here. I'm looking for something, as you guys can probably tell. Looking for my little light here. I have to keep the lights down because I got Boo down for a snap. So other people have said, like, oh my gosh, how do you get a blankie around your cat? Well, it's when you put a blanket on the cat, when they're sleeping, you get them used to just, like, they always cuddle up with you, right? So they're used to covers around them. So then, when they go to sleep and you want them to take their cat nap so they won't put their butt all over everything you're trying to do, you put the cover around them and then they fall asleep that way. They start falling asleep and then you pull the cover up over, the bottom half of them. If you ever come up to them and try to put a blanket on them from the front, you're likely to get attacked because they're still very primal and they feel that their predators come at them from that angle. Because what kind of predators come at them? Something flying. So like an owl or a vulture, something like, a big flying object. So you have to do that and do it slowly, and then they get, to a point where, then they're all cute and they're tucked in. Take a nice little nap, and then he'll wake up and start terrorizing everybody again all night long. He did a kangaroo move last night. Jumped like off in the middle of the bed, like boing, and then boinged all the way back off. It was terrifying and hilarious all at once. But today, because he watches cat TV and he loves it, he goes and beats up the cats on the TV. Cat TV is like putting YouTube videos on that are cat themed. If you go to YouTube, and you look up cat videos, cat bird videos, there's some really good ones, and it'll have like cats. Um, so some will show cats and them being petted and whatnot, and then others will be birds and squirrels and stuff for them to just stare at, and the cats just love it. And then they'll team up and they'll go to the big screen and they'll start, because like every once in a while they'll put a turkey in, and a turkey will go by and they'll have to try to just bat that big turkey down. Well, so he loves that. But today my husband was watching a war movie, and the guys were like all laid down in a ditch. They were doing that marine crawl. Oh, he got up all next to the big screen and laid down next to them and did the marine crawl with them. It was hilarious. It was like nothing I've ever seen. I was laughing so hard. He's so funny. He loves to imitate people. He gets a big smile on his face when he does it. He's very funny. And Ma Kisses is down here in her little house, and she's snoring so deep she squeaks and rattles when she snores. And then the other one's Scoundrella. She just sits down with Daddy all day. Whatever Daddy's doing, she just sits there with him all day. Watches TV with him, does work with him, follows him around. And then she'll scream when she wants him to give him a little squirt. She wants a little squirt of whipped cream. He goes to the freaking store and buys like cans of whipped cream for her. It's craziness. Craziness. Anyway, back to this. So, next, CBI's polygraph procedures were explained to Chris. I read Chris his Miranda rights and explained to him that he did not have to talk to me. Chris signed the advisement of rights form stating he understood his rights and wished to continue with the interview and polygraph. Chris also signed a consent form indicating his willingness to undergo a polygraph examination. During the pre-test interview, Chris told me the following, in parentheses, note, below is only a summary of our conversation. Please review the attached transcript, audio file, and video recordings in their entireties for full details on the interview. Well, we have, Tamburglar. We have. With regard to Chris' background and upbringing, growing up, he lived with his mother, father, and sister, Jamie. His father worked as a parts manager for a Ford dealership. His mother worked as a secretary and notary for a used car dealership. Holy what? Because that's the way that him and Shanann worked for a while, because he was a mechanic at the Ford dealership and she was doing whatever. She was in sales or whatever. Remember, she'd get the paycheck for him as well because she controlled the finances. He wasn't even allowed to go and be handed his paycheck. She put the paycheck in the little jar where she had his balls. But anyway, I didn't know that was basically mirroring what his mom and dad did. I just love Cindy and Papa Ronnie. I think they're very nice people. So it's very cute that they work together. Jamie is 7 years older than him. He gets along well with Jamie and her husband. He just saw Jamie and her family during his recent visit to North Carolina. He was in North Carolina August 1 through 7, 2018. Growing up, his family attended First Baptist Church on a fairly regular basis. He was always the quiet kid who followed the rules, and Jamie was the rebellious child in the family. Jamie left numerous times after high school and would always move back home. His father was a disciplinarian of the family. His father would not use physical discipline, but would raise his voice. There we go. Here's what I was talking about. His father struggled with substance abuse after Chris moved out. It was hard on his father when Chris left because his father was used to Chris always being around. His father is his hero and best friend. I heard that when when Christopher left, when Papa Ronnie didn't have his little buddy, he was so lonely, he started doing some blow. It's just so weird. Like I say, I can't even imagine Papa Ronnie going and scoring some cocaine. Where would he even get it from? Weird. So after he graduated high school, he moved to Morrisville, North Carolina. He attended NASCAR College in Morrisville, North Carolina. NASCAR College was a mechanical school. He understands numbers and math very well. From 2001 to 2012, he worked for Morrisville Ford. From 2012 to 2014, he worked at Longmont Ford in Colorado. While he worked for Ford, he developed the onset of carpal tunnel in both of his hands. How do you get the onset of it instead of carpal tunnel? This is where we all figure that, Shanann just didn't want him working there because she didn't like that image. It wasn't like, oh, he looked corporate enough. She didn't think that, even though he was making good money there, he was making more money there than he was at Anadarko. She thought the image of him working at Anadarko was better than the Ford. So anyway, the onset of carpal tunnel in both of his hands. Isn't that funny that he worked at where does it say? So he worked from 2001 to 2012 at Morrisville Ford as a mechanic. And he had went to college as a mechanic. And never had this beginning of carpal tunnel. But Shanann got carpal tunnel and got a workman's pay settlement out of that. I knew that was somewhere. So I think she made him go and cash out on that as well. Because if he had carpal tunnel and had to quit as a mechanic, he's still using wrenches and stuff. Anadarko, I don't know. So since leaving Ford, he has no longer pain in his hands. He no longer has pain in his hands. In 2014, he worked for Covenant Testing Technologies, oil field contractor. In January of 2015, he was hired to work at Anadarko. He currently works as a field coordinator with Anadarko. He usually helps his guys in the field and tries to get everyone off work by 3 to 3:30 p.m. He usually starts his workday at 6 to 6:30 a.m. every day. Some people at work call him Rain Man because if he goes into an oil site once, he'll remember it. He stayed the prior evening, Tuesday, August 14th, 2015, at Nick and Amanda Thayer's house. He had met Amanda while she was a director at the Primrose School where Bella and Cece attended. Amanda currently works as a downline from Shanann in the company, Thrive. Thrive sells vitamins and minerals that are all plant-based. It's a 3-step system which includes capsules in the morning, a protein shake with water, and a patch you wear on your skin. Extremely healthy. He, Chris, weighed 245 pounds before he started using Thrive in 2016. He, Chris, is a downline from Shanann, but she sells for him. There you go. So see, she signed him up. She sells under his name and her name. And not sells, but basically she buys the product. So then it makes both hers and his hit the minimum, which is that. So she was using all of the money. I'll have to explain this in a way that makes more sense, but I see what she did when doing that. She cheated. Shanann knows he is not a seller and told him he would tell people too much about the product. Like the truth? One person at his work, Troy McCoy, buys Thrive from him. He and McCoy are both field supervisors for Anadarko. McCoy have hung out a few times outside of their work with their families. With regard to his relationship with Shanann, he met Shanann in 2010 through Facebook. His cousin's wife recommended he and Shanann become friends on Facebook. He started talking to Shanann, and they had their first date at a movie theater. Shanann was not impressed with him because he came to the date very underdressed. He and Shanann's second date was at a rock concert. He and Shanann spent their third date at Myrtle Beach. Shanann suffered from lupus and it was acting up on their date at Myrtle Beach. On the drive back from Myrtle Beach, she lay on his lap the entire time. Shanann realized he was a really nice guy because he let her lay on his lap for 2.5 hours. He proposed to Shanann in 2011 at Ocean Isle Beach. Shanann is very OCD about organization and planned the entire wedding. In November 2012, he and Shanann wed at the Doubletree Hilton in North Carolina. Their wedding was amazing. It says that right there. It's like we heard that, yeah, she planned everything for herself. She made sure that his parents weren't there, and they didn't have food for anybody. They invited everybody, and then they were like, yeah, there's the restaurant, like, it's right there. Like, they had no food for anybody. She had one reason, and she planned her wedding, and that was so she could get more gifts. In December 2013, their daughter Bella was born. Bella was a gift because doctors warned them Shanann may not be able to have children due to her lupus. In 2015, Cece was born. Bella was a mama's girl, and Cece was a daddy's girl. Cece was rambunctious and always moving until she fell asleep. Cece loved riding in the airplane on the way back from North Carolina. He was excited when he found out Shanann was pregnant with their third child. Shanann had an ultrasound the prior week, August 8, 2018, and they found out they were having a boy. Boom. There. Okay, this came from his mouth. This is the only thing that I have seen that is factual from his mouth. Now, let's see, because it was that NK was going to find out, blah, 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 blah. So, do we know for sure? This is a big thing. This is a big thing to me because I'm trying to figure out where the actual and true ultrasound was, because it's very difficult to believe this. And let me see here. He's saying it, so let's see here. Okay, we're gonna put this down here because this might be my aha moment here. 515, page 515. He states that ultrasound on August 8th found out they were having a boy. Because I still don't believe that. Okay. She wanted it to be a boy. And remember, SW's mom wanted it to be a boy. So, this ultrasound, if it happened, he's saying that, so right now he's saying Shanann had an ultrasound the prior week. And they found out they were having a boy. Okay, so let's see here, because it's not saying he was actually there. Maybe it'll say that he was. And it was said that the sex was written down for NA to reveal to them at the gender reveal. But then the gender reveal was canceled, and she had called and canceled gender reveal. She'd also canceled the ultrasound. We have texts of that too. But then this ultrasound person said that he called in, so we don't know. We don't know for sure. But here's something that indicates this may be the genesis of where it all came from. But how come the medical examiner could not determine the sex from actually seeing the fetus? That does not make sense to me. But we're going to go here. On page 515, it states it right out of CW's mouth. So let's see if there's more, because that's the first factual thing I've ever seen about it. Okay. Now let's see. What? Okay. It says this. Shanann used fertility drugs with both Bella and Cece. Okay. Then condoms. If you're trying to conceive, to the effect that you take fertility drugs to conceive, but then supposedly you're told that because of your lupus, it's not healthy for you to conceive, according to her, why are you using condoms? Aren't the condoms contradictory to the fraternity? Nothing makes sense. Okay. And yes, the condoms were in the closet. We know that. Blah, 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 blah. So, Shanann used fertility drugs with both Bella and Cece. Shanann was not using any fertility drugs when she got pregnant with their third child. They only tried twice when Shanann got pregnant with their son. All right, there we go. Oh no, here we go. Ready? Shanann believed they got pregnant because she was using Thrive and had a much healthier lifestyle. Oh no. Shanann did not suffer from postpartum with any of her pregnancies. Baloney. Poor Christopher, he didn't know. Shanann found out she was pregnant with their son the first or second week of June of 2018. Shanann is currently 14 to 15 weeks pregnant. Okay? So let's jot that down too, because it says she found out first, second week of June 18. Okay? So she must have missed her period. It's her second in July, August. We'll have to see, because like I said, the measurements on the fetus don't go with that, but we're going to go with this right here because he's going along with what he was told. So, and you know, and then before, I thought that he said he hadn't had relations with her to his father. This is interesting because now he is saying they tried twice. And this is interesting because this is coming from his mouth that he wanted another child. So this is very interesting to me. Very, very interesting. And did not suffer from postpartum with any of her pregnancies. I don't think so. I mean, most people do. But okay, so then with regard to the family's recent trip to North Carolina, he and Shanann went on a Thrive trip to San Diego the end of June 2018. Okay, so if she had just found out that she was pregnant in the first or second week in June, and they went to San Diego the end of June, let me see here, she would have just figured out she was pregnant according to him, but that doesn't match up with the measurements. Anywho, he and Shanann returned from San Diego on June 26th, 2018. Shanann's father watched their girls while they were in San Diego. Later that same day, June 26, 2018, Shanann, Bella, Cece, and Shanann's father flew to North Carolina. Well, in North Carolina, Shanann and the girls visited both sides of the family. Shanann needed to meet up with some of her promoters and customers while she was in North Carolina. Shanann wanted both sets of grandparents to watch Bella and Cece while she was working. Cece's birthday occurred during their trip in North Carolina, so they had a birthday party for her. Shanann FaceTimed him during the birthday party so he could watch it. While Shanann and the girls stayed in North Carolina, he stayed at home, worked out, ran, and kept the house together. He flew out to North Carolina on July 31st so he could fly back to Colorado with Shanann and the girls. He spent a week in North Carolina with his family. The night he arrived in North Carolina, he stayed at Shanann's parents'. The following day, he, Shanann, and the girls drove to the beach, North Myrtle Beach, and stayed there for 4 to 5 days. That's where we see all those texts. It was the first time his daughters had ever seen the beach. Cece loved the beach, and her bathing suit was full of seashells. Her bathing suit full of seashells. She's like, these are fun. I like them. He was able to visit his paternal grandmother in the nursing home. Wait a minute. Urge. Because we know somebody said that he could bring the girls and live with the grandma somewhere. So was that the maternal grandma and the paternal grandma's here? Did he have both sets of grandparents still living? So he was able to visit his paternal grandmother in the nursing home. His grandmother lights up when she sees his daughters. His dad came and picked him up, and he spent the day with his parents. He hung out with his parents and visited with his sister and his family. Hey, well, I don't see where it's saying that he was ignored by his family like he said he was. On August 7, 2018, he and Shanann packed up and flew back to Colorado. On August 8th, he returned to work. On August 10th, Shanann flew out to Arizona with her friend, Nicole Atkinson. He spent Friday, August 10th, Saturday, August 11th, and Sunday, August 12th with his girls. On Sunday, August 12th, he took his girls to a birthday party for Jeremy Lindstrom's son, who turned 4. There was a mini pool at the birthday party, and his girls had an epic time. They drove back home after the party, and he gave his girls a shower and then put them to bed. He waited to hear from Shanann, who was going to fly back to Colorado that evening. Shanann's airplane got delayed because they couldn't find a flight crew. Oh, that does tend to have a delay on the flight if they can't find a crew. Where'd the crew go? What in the world? Let me see here. Let me see here. check something here. Just a second, guys. Let me see. Check something. Okay. I am sorry, just got some texts I needed to check on. Here. I'm still trying to get that Instagram back, and it looked like there might have been. No, it couldn't refresh feed. Okay. I restarted my phone. Still kind of not seeing that couldn't refresh feed. Couldn't do this. Something went wrong. Try again. Blah, 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 blah. So it looks like I got back into my Insta, but then it doesn't. So I'll have to check it again later. I thought restarting my phone would do it, but no. And let's see, just a second. Let me see here. If I try this, just a second. And let's see. And let me see here. Okay. So the mini pool at the birthday party and his girls had an epic time. Sorry guys, I was just trying to fix all that. They drove back home after the party and he gave his girls a shower and put them to bed. He waited to hear from Shanann, who was going to fly back with the flight crew. Blah, 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 blah. Shanann was supposed to arrive in Denver at 11 o'clock, but she didn't end up getting in till approximately 2 a.m. Okay, that... Okay. She didn't get home until approximately 2 a.m. Supposed to arrive at 11. Well, we know that's not true, so I'm just trying to figure out if that's him saying it. Okay, let me see here. Now that's him saying it. And now, is this logged in? Is this now freezing up too? There we go. Okay. With regard to the events that occurred after Shanann arrived home from Arizona, Shanann returned home around 2 a.m. and got into bed. His doorbell alert showed Shanann walked inside at 1:48 a.m. His alarm went off at 4 a.m. so he could get up and go to work. He got up, brushed his teeth, and put on deodorant. He did not take a shower because he works in the oil field and showers when he gets home from work. Shanann told him before he got home that she wanted him to wake her up when he got up so she could shower and get the airport off of me. Okay, hold on. His doorbell alert showed that Shanann walked inside at 1:48 a.m. His alarm went off at 4 a.m. so he could get up and work. He got up, brushed his teeth, and put on deodorant. He did not take a shower because he works in the oil field and showers when he gets home from work. Okay. Shanann told him before she got home that she wanted him to wake her up when he got up so she could shower and get the airport off of me. Okay. He woke Shanann up after he got ready, and they talked about selling the house and separating. He said Shanann's conversation was emotional. He and Shanann were both crying. After he and Shanann talked, Shanann said she was going to take the kids to a friend's house and she returned later the same day. He told Shanann that was fine and went downstairs to pack his lunch, fill up his water jug, and collect his computer. He has to pack his own lunch even? Ooh. He loaded his truck and went to work. After he got to work, he texted Shanann at 7:40 a.m. because he hadn't heard from her and didn't know where she was going. He texted Shanann and asked her to tell him where she took the kids. Shanann did not reply to his text. It is normal for Shanann to not respond to his texts because her priority is to respond to her direct salespeople. He continued working, and at noon, he realized he never heard from Shanann. He called and texted Shanann and said, "Hey, call me." At 12:10 p.m., he received a doorbell alarm on his cell phone stating someone was at the front door. Atkinson was at his front door, so he called her. He asked Atkinson what was going on, and Atkinson said she hadn't heard from Shanann the entire day. He thought, all right, this is kind of strange. And Atkinson told him Shanann's car was there and that she could see Shanann's shoes by the front door. He left work and headed home. Atkinson told him there would be a police officer there when he got home. Atkinson wasn't able to get inside because there was a top latch on the inside of the front door. They used the top latch on the front door to make sure the kids could not get out without them knowing. The keypad on the outside of the garage door did not work. The police and Atkinson had to wait until he arrived so he could use his garage door opener. When he arrived home, they went inside the house. Car's there, car seats are there. Purse is still there. The phone's on the couch. Like her wedding ring sitting on the nightstand. Like there is no sign of Bella, Celeste, her anywhere. Bella and Cece's beds were not made. The sheets were off and Shanann's bed. The sheets were off of his and Shanann's bed. It is common for Shanann to wash the bed sheets when she slept in the bed after coming home directly from the airport. He believes Shanann woke up and decided to strip the bed to wash the sheets. He washed everything, all the sheets Shanann had stripped off and left on the floor in the bedroom, and put different sheets from the closet onto the bed. In parentheses, Chris described this had occurred after the police searched his home Monday. The sheets Shanann had taken off the bed should be cleaned in a pile in the bedroom where he left them. The sheets Shanann had taken off the bed should be cleaned in a pile in the bedroom where he left them. Okay. They found Shanann's cell phone and powered it up. There were numerous text messages that started coming through from people trying to get a hold of Shanann. Everything that was there just didn't make sense as far as why? What happened? He started reaching out to numerous friends who had car seats or had kids in general. No one had heard from Shanann. Detective Baumhover arrived at his residence and interviewed him. Atkinson and Atkinson's son, Nick. Okay. Detective Baumhover arrived at his residence and interviewed him, Atkinson, and Atkinson's son, Nick. The police talked to Chris. And then, the police talked to Chris's, because Chris is in parentheses, it's weird. The police talked to Chris's neighbor because he had a camera with a few different angles. Chris, watched the surveillance video and didn't see Shanann leaving at all. There was no video of Shanann leaving out the front of the house. He knew Shanann wouldn't just leave everything at home, which included the girls' medicine. Chris later mentioned that Shanann takes Imitrex for migraines, and it was also missing from the residence. The only thing missing from the house were the girls' blankies. The girls usually take their blankies whenever they leave the house. Cece had a New York Yankees blanket, a little dinosaur, a turtle, and an animated dog. Bella had 2 blankies, but one was left at the house. Bella had a dinosaur and a swan blanket that were missing. Bella's animated cat was left at the house. The police went around his neighborhood to ask if anyone else had surveillance video, if they saw something. We had nothing at all. He hoped the girls were just at a friend's house decompressing and they were safe. That evening, Monday, August 13th, 2018, he called hospitals and hotels. He kept every light in the house on just in case they came home. He laid in bed, but he didn't sleep. He had friends who came over to show their support. Everyone told him they hoped Shanann was okay. He hoped he would get a knock on the door, a call, a text. He hoped Shanann would buy a burner phone so she could at least call him and tell him she's okay. He misses the kids sitting at the dinner table and having to tell them to eat. He misses the kids throwing their chicken nuggets at him. Why are they chucking nuggets at him? I know I saw that before, but it's just so weird. I don't know of anybody who has their kids throwing food at them and misses that. He went to the kids' room to make their beds, and he realized he didn't need to turn on their rain machine, wouldn't be able to read them a book, wasn't going to kiss them goodnight, wasn't giving them their nighttime snack, wasn't giving them their medicine, wasn't getting them dressed for bed, and didn't need to turn on the monitor to watch them. He didn't stay in the house Monday night, but he knew he needed to be there in case. He didn't want to stay in the house Monday night, but he knew he needed to be there in case they came home. And this is really poignant to me because look at this. This shows what he did. I mean, he was so hands-on with those girls. I mean, here's the thing. He went to make their beds. Okay, so he made their beds. Turn on their rain machine, which is so ridiculous. But, because it's supposed to be on as high as it goes, according to what we've seen, the volume is on all the way. Reads them their books. Kiss them good night. Nighttime snack. Okay. We know that he was sneaking things into them because he felt bad that they had to be in their rooms for that long, according to her. So, nighttime snack, medicine. We knew that with that medicine, he did the temperature, which was weird. Dressed for bed. And monitor. So if we look at all those things that he just listed off, he's Rain Man. He said he realized he didn't get to make their beds, turn on their rain machines, read them a book to sleep, give them a good night kiss, bring them a nighttime snack, give them their medicines, thermometers like we know, get them dressed for bed, turn on their monitors. That's a dad that's hands-on. What did that leave for her to do? What did she do for the hands-on caring? It's weird. It's weird. And then it says Shanann and the girls did not come home Monday night. On Tuesday, August 14, 2018, the police called him and said they were going to issue a missing persons report. The news crews came over and the police used drones and canine units. And we know how that went with the canines, you know. Let me see here. Let me see. So, the news crews came over and the police used drones and canines. Then in parentheses, it's this huge thing again, okay? It's another big old run-on sentence, and here we go. It all set in, like, this is not, she's not, like, they think something happened. Because this right here, this means that, okay, my worst fear, that is where it's going. Okay. Wherever Shanann and the girls are, they're safe. I really, really hope they can just come home. Okay. Being at home and not being able to tuck his girls in, it's heart-wrenching. It's earth-shattering right now. Because those are my kids. Okay. So that's my kids. Those are my kids. Those are like he made those kids, you know? His kids were gone for 5 weeks and he got to FaceTime them over every night. Okay, that's cool. FaceTiming every night. That's cool. They were just here and not knowing where they are now. It's a nightmare right now. Okay, this FaceTiming every night in North Carolina. Remember how she was telling everybody how Christopher wasn't doing this, Christopher wasn't doing that, Christopher wasn't doing this, he wasn't grabbing her ass and everything. She had the girls FaceTime him every night, but then she's complaining about what he's not doing for her. That's news to me that they FaceTimed every night. The girls and him, and probably with her too, but it just wasn't good enough, you know? And then he says they were just here and not knowing where they are now, it's a nightmare right now. And then in parentheses, with regard to if he still believes Shanann was at a friend's house, he says, at this point, I don't. Because all this, like, everything that's happened now. It made him feel like Shanann vanished and hopefully had the kids at a hotel. He just wants Shanann to be safe. With the FBI and CBI involved in the investigation, it made him feel like maybe someone has Shanann. It's not keeping her, Shanann, safe, or something terrible has happened. And that's the nightmare. I'm sorry, my husband is watching sports and he's a little animated. So if you heard that curdling in the background, it wasn't somebody following people into a dungeon. It was him reacting to something. So I'm going to reread that because that was really weird. So with the FBI and CBI involved in the investigation... Oh my God, he won't shut up. You realize I'm upstairs and I have the door shut. Well, I can't have the door all the way shut in my office because Boo Boo does not allow me to have the door shut. So he has to do his security patrols at all times. I'm going to try one more time and hope that he isn't doing anything weird. Let me see. Just a second. I'm going to cover this. You okay? Are you okay? Keep it down there. Well, didn't mean it. Okay. He's okay. So. Says with the FBI and CBI involved in the investigation, it made him feel like maybe someone has Shanann who's not keeping her, Shanann, safe. or something terrible has happened, and that's the nightmare. Okay. And then the CBI. It says Colorado Bureau of Investigation, so just, on the next page. Okay. We're on 5/19 of 1960, just for those of you guys who are following along. So then it says he thought someone could have hurt his wife and girls. It's running through my mind that somebody has hurt them and they're not safe, and I really want them to be safe. I really want them to come home. And then in parentheses, with regard to Shanann's trip to Arizona. Shanann was attending a Thrive Local conference. Then he says Shanann made between $65,000 and $70,000 a year with Thrive. Shanann had approximately 200 people who are signed up under her. What? She had a downline of 200? Is that true? If that's true, then she could have made that kind of income without her doing anything. I'm going to write this down because I don't know that that's been verified. Has anybody verified that? I mean, I would like to see it in actual proof, because if she had a downline of 200, okay. He knew. I don't think he knew half of the things that she did or didn't do. I think he believed everything she said, and I think that's the problem. I don't think he ever questioned her. I think he truly loved her from the very beginning and just idolized her, and she took advantage of him. She saw him for what he was, and what he is very, 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 very kind-hearted, very, very gullible. Because if you have a downline of 200 of your own, you're going to even make more than 60 to 70K. If you have a downline of 200, you would only have to do your bare minimums, and then everybody else says she signed up under her. But she would have made that much, and I don't see that was adding up for not making the house payment. Why would you not make the house payment and the HOA payment if that was true? That is so weird. Wow. I don't think he knew. And then here is in parentheses, and it says, with regard to when he first realized he wanted to separate from Shanann. He decided he wanted to separate from Shanann during the 5 weeks Shanann and the girls were in North Carolina. Shanann left for North Carolina June 26, 2018. While she was gone, he and Shanann could feel the disconnect through their calls and texts. He and Shanann spoke less and were less lovey-dovey. As of a year ago, he could tell his relationship with Shanann wasn't as hot and heavy as when they first met. He hoped the relationship with Shanann would just work themselves out. He and Shanann stopped going out on dates after they started having children. I'm not going to blame the kids for the disconnection or anything, but, we focus on, the kids, all the time. He and Shanann stopped having deep conversations. When he flew out to North Carolina, he met Shanann and the girls at the airport. He hugged his girls and gave Shanann a hug and a kiss. You could feel it start from there, everything just felt different. Every night he was in North Carolina, he and Shanann talked, but it was mostly through texts. Shanann's family was there, and they really couldn't get their feelings across except through texts. He, Chris, arrived in North Carolina on July 31st, 2018, and they went to the beach on August 1, 2018. Shanann's father was with them for a few days, so he and Shanann were rarely alone together. He and Shanann discussed over text where their relationship was going. North Carolina was the first time he and Shanann had ever discussed separating. Like, if we're going to bring a third kid into this world, like what's our relationship going to look like? Is it going to be are we going to work this out, or is this going to lead to a separation? Is this going to lead to where? Like, we stay together and be civil with the kids, or are we going to be our separate ways? Shanann was very emotional and there was a lot of crying. He told Shanann he didn't feel the same connection with her anymore. He didn't feel like he could be himself anymore or the person Shanann needed him to be. And both he and Shanann wanted to see if they could make their relationship work. Shanann suggested they read a book and go to counseling. When Shanann went to Arizona, she confided in many friends about their relationship. We all know that they did. That she did. After Shanann disappeared, he spoke to many of Shanann's friends who told him they knew that he and Shanann were having issues. He wasn't aware if Shanann told anybody about the possible separation. Shanann's friends said they could tell her emotional state was different. He did not sleep in the same bed with Shanann while they were in North Carolina. He slept with the girls one night and slept on the couch. He and Shanann did not have sex in North Carolina. He and Shanann were not affectionate with each other during the trip. Shanann accused him of cheating and he told her, "You know that would never happen. Like, you know the kind of guy I am." He was at his friend Jeremy's house and Jeremy told him Chris was the type of guy who could go away with his wife for a week and he knew nothing would happen. People know the kind of person I am. Like, I'm not the type of guy that's just going to say, "All right, my wife's gone." Like, who's the girl, like, I can find for this, like, 5 weeks. Like, no, that's not for me. Like, I respect my wife and she respects me. Like, if she's somewhere safe right now, I don't think it would be with a guy. I never had an inkling she would do the same. Do anything to me, you know? Sometimes when Shanann called him, well, she was gone. He was out for a run or working out and didn't answer the phone. Shanann and the girls had never been away from him that long in the past. Shanann was more emotional when she was pregnant. Shanann's mother was full-blooded Italian and would make Shanann very anxious. Interesting, right? Now, we have to remember that we know it's a fact. What he said above here is very questionable because he's saying he is not the kind of guy who's going to cheat. We know he's cheating. So in this office, he was saying a lot of things to sound good. Okay? Why? Why isn't he coming forth and saying, "Yeah, I've been a shitbird having an affair"? Okay? But it is funny because Shanann's parents love to act like everything was just so wonderful and they were so close to their daughter, and nothing could be further from the truth. There are so many lies in that relationship, so many lies here. And to see how much Christopher is lying right here is interesting. But Shanann's mother was full-blooded Italian and would make Shanann very anxious. How is she full-blooded? Is both her mom and her dad from the motherland? So he's saying that her mom makes her anxious. So why did she have her mom live with her? You know? Why did she go and stay with her mom? Interesting. I think it's interesting. Shanann was under a lot of stress being around both of their families. Why would she be under a lot of stress being with both of her families? Isn't this a loving, supportive family that she's staying with? Why would she be under stress being around the families? Huh? Makes you wonder, huh? Shanann most likely confided in her friends, Nicole and Cassie, about her relationship with him, Chris. Oh no, Christopher, she freaking confided in the whole freaking Eastern Seaboard. Shanann did not confide in her mother about their relationship. Oh my god, you poor man, you had no idea what was going on. Why would he think for a second she wasn't telling Mama Roo everything? Huh? She sure was. She was telling Mama Roo everything. Everything. Yes, she was. So, moving my drinks out of the way here. Because I'm only a fourth Italian, I flail my hands all over, so. Okay, let me see here. With regard to his physical relationship with Shanann, the last time he and Shanann had sex was May 2018 when they conceived their third child. So he's saying they had sex in May. Earlier, it was stated that it was March. So he is saying they did it in May. And then when did he begin his relationship with NK? Because we're talking it's August now. Okay, so August. So last time they had sex was in May. So she could have conceived May. Could be. Could be. May. So then if she found out in June to July, July to August, that is not 15 weeks pregnant. It's weird. Okay. Weirdness. Let me see here. All right. Shanann did not confide in her mother about their relationship. That is, how could he even think that for a second? That's all they talked about. Look at it. I wonder if Mama Roo always disliked him. Because why does she say the things she says about him? Why did they live together? Why did Mama Roo and Papa Roo live? No. This is really interesting. Let me see. Let me see here. Okay. Let me see. He and Shanann talked about having a third child. Shanann kept track of her ovulation cycle. Before May 2018, he and Shanann had sex once or twice a week. There were times they would go a month or two without having sex. He was usually the one who would initiate sex. Most times he was shot down by Shanann for sex. he enjoyed having sex with Shanann. Shanann was more emotional when she was pregnant. With regard to his and Shanann's relationship with their in-laws, there was an, in parentheses, incident while Shanann and the girls were in North Carolina. Chris's mother, had ice cream in her house that Cece was allergic to. Cece was allergic to tree nuts and kiwi. Cece was the type of kid who would lunge to get the ice cream, and her reaction to tree nuts was getting worse each time she saw the allergist. It doesn't work that way. It's like if you find out that you're allergic to the nuts, you don't have them, you eliminate them to the best of your ability. She was on Singulair and omeprazole, which both act on mast cell activation, and then we know that Shanann was also giving her Benadryl. So the chances of her having much of a reaction, let alone a reaction getting worse, this child was only 3 years old. How many times was she at the allergist? It's like, it's usually a once and done. My God. At the age of 3, it's like, okay, you know what? So then, oh my God, it just boggles my mind. Boggles my mind sometimes, these weirdos. Okay. So one of his sister's kids ate the ice cream next to Cece, and Shanann said the kids could no longer visit with his parents. When he arrived in North Carolina, his parents told him they had not seen the kids for 2 weeks. He was hurt because he wanted his grandbabies, in parentheses. He went to visit his parents and sister without Shanann and the girls. With regard to if he and Shanann talked about counseling, he and Shanann discussed going to counseling on August 8th, 2018. He told Shanann he didn't think they needed to go to counseling. He felt anything they needed to say to each other, they could just say. Shanann told him he had married friends who were still going to counseling. He was open to the idea of counseling, but he didn't want to do it. He was open to it, but he didn't want to do it. He already felt disconnected from Shanann and didn't feel like counseling was going to help. With regard to his schedule on August 8th through 12th, 2018, he worked on Wednesday and Thursday, August 8th and 9th, 2018. On Friday, August 10th, 2018, he took off work because Shanann flew out to Arizona. Nicole picked Shanann up to go to the airport early in the morning. He hugged Shanann goodbye. He told Shanann to let him know when she arrived and told her he would send her pictures of the girls. When Shanann left for Arizona, he and Shanann talked about counseling and knew the sex of their third child. They weren't going to tell their family what the sex of the baby was until Shanann got home. Okay, so that's why we don't know? Maybe. Because, okay, how did other people say they knew? Because if they didn't tell anybody... This is interesting. Okay. They were not going to tell the family what the sex of the baby was until Shanann got home. Okay, so how did Mama Rue and everybody know that it was a boy? This doesn't make sense. Because... Okay. That contradicts... Okay, let me see here. Not till... I'm writing this down because this is weird. Until Shanann got home. So how did they find out? Okay. When Shanann left for Arizona, he and Shanann talked about counseling and knew the sex of their third child. So what, did NK tell Shanann there, if the ultrasound really happened? Did NK tell Shanann on the airplane and then she called Chris to say, it is a boy? Even though I don't think they could have found out. But anyway, let's just leave it there. They agreed to not tell the family until Shanann got home. Now, when she got home that night, or if she got home, whether or not that thing is real. No one ever talked to her again. She's not been seen since. So how would anybody else actually know? Okay, well, here we go. Then it says Nicole knew the sex of the baby and was planning a gender reveal party. He waited for the girls to wake up, and then they hung around the house. He waited for the girls to wake up, and then they hung out around the house. He took the girls to the grocery store and to fix his eyeglasses, which had some cracks in the frame. How do you have cracks in the frame? They went to Target and also picked up their Clicklist groceries from King Soopers. I never heard of King Soopers. Soopers. His children attend Primrose School in Erie 5 days a week, but the school was closed on Friday, August 10th for teacher workday. He and the girls got home around 4:30 p.m. Friday evening, he made the girls dinner and got them ready for bed. He does not call or FaceTime Shanann with the girls while she is gone because the girls would get very upset. Okay. Bella asked repeatedly about Shanann while he was in Arizona. Well, she was in Arizona. Bella and Cece would have a cry fest if they talked to Shanann while she was gone. Bella and Cece went to bed between 7:30 and 8 p.m. After the girls went to bed, he went downstairs and worked out. He watched SportsCenter. He did not have anyone come over on Friday. On Saturday, August 11th, 2018, Bella got into bed with him that morning and they waited for Cece to get up. Okay, this is a one-off. This is a one-off because watch Neeks Peaks. Shanann loves to brag about how the girls slept in their own beds. There was no co-sleeping. They were in their own bedrooms. They were locked in. They had the rain machines because she said they were sleep trained according to the book that she read, blah, 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 blah. Okay? We know that. So, on something, somebody told me that it wasn't true that the girls were locked up in their own rooms because the girls slept in his bed and would wake him up. Okay, that's not true. This is a one-off, and it's in the discovery because it is a one-off. So somebody else who's heard that, they don't know the whole entire story. Like I say, watch Neeks Peaks if you haven't. Neeks, Peeks. I think they do a great job of having all of the videos of Shanann talking and going through the routine in the way that she was proud that she did it, and it was like bragging about it to the effect that she did this so that her family runs in the way that gives her time for herself. So, when Mom was out of town, it sounds like Christopher had fun with them, and that's probably why they cried when they saw her, because they're like, oh shit, she's going to come and lock us back up. Because it says, okay, on Saturday, August 11th, Bella got into bed with him that morning, and they waited for Cece to wake up. So that morning, there you go. Because they were also supposed to, be locked in their bedrooms from 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. He let them stay up until 7:30 or 8. We know the babysitter let them stay up a little bit too. So then it says he was going to Costco that day, but Shanann told him she would do it when she returned. He hung out at the house with Bella and Cece and played outside before it got too hot. Well, see, he's playing with them outside. He and the girls played inside their playroom. Okay, he let them play in the playroom too. At 5 p.m., Jeremy Lindstrom's daughter, McKenna, came over to babysit. Well, he went to a Colorado Rockies game. Now, see, he's messing up because he's lying and they know this isn't true. Game started at 6:10 p.m. He went to the Rockies game with people from work, Cody and Sam. See, he's messing up. He's saying all this, and this isn't true. And they know it's not true. And he's giving them too many details. He was porking Nicole through this time. So he lied so much in all of this. These are lies that they had already done. They had already found out by everybody from multiple sources. So this is where they were just watching him like, yeah, you liar, liar, liar face. Cody and Sam ate at the Lazy Dog before the game. Oh, lie! Lie here. He did not talk to Cody or Sam about his relationship with Shanann. His supervisor, Luke Epple, was the only one at work that knew he and his wife may get separated. He told Epple to say something if he saw his mind wasn't on task. Rocky's game was part of a raffle they did at work. Their seats were on the third baseline, approximately 10 rows up. The Rockies won after a walk-off 3-run home run at the bottom of the 9th inning. He talked to Shanann on the way home from the game to ask her how much he should pay McKenna. He didn't even know how much he should pay a babysitter. He stopped at the ATM inside the Conoco gas station next to his house, so he had money to pay McKenna. He got home at approximately 11 p.m. The girls were already sleeping in their own beds. The girls have their own bedrooms and share a Jack and Jill bathroom. Yeah, that you pulled the water out of, that is locked from the inside out, that the girls could not use. He is lying. On August 12th, Bella woke up and went into Cece's room and woke her up. They're locked in. This is all not true. Did he not use the locks when she wasn't there? This is weird. Because the doors were locked, and this is in the police reports. They found the water is taken out of the toilet because Cece kept drinking out of it, and the doors from that Jack and Jill bathroom were locked because Shanann did not want Bella to get to Cece in the night. So this is really weird why he's even saying this, because these things are not true. He's making it sound like they have just a wonderful little life, isn't he? On Sunday, August 12, 2018, Bella woke up and went into Cece's room and woke her up. That would be SW's greatest fear, is if Bella went in and woke up Cece. Because, she couldn't handle Cece unless she had those stickers on. He and the girls went downstairs and watched Bubble Guppies. What? That's a cute show, Bubble Guppies. He put the girls down for a nap because Jeremy Lindstrom's son was having his 4th birthday party. He woke the girls up from their nap around 12:30 p.m. and went to Jeremy's house. Chris recalled he and the girls went to Target earlier in the day to purchase a birthday present. Chris said they came home from the Target and he fed them leftover cold pizza. Hey, it's cold. They stayed at Jeremy's house from 1:15 p.m. until 4:30 to 5 p.m. He did not know the party was going to have water balloons and a pool. He hadn't packed swimsuits or water shoes for the girls. Cece and Bella had a lot of fun playing in the water. He sent Shanann pictures and videos of the girls from the party. When they got home, he gave Bella and Cece a shower because they had sand on them. He got the girls out of the water, dried them off, put lotion on them, and got their pajamas on. Cece had on a pink nightgown with a drawing of a bird on it and a nighttime diaper. I'll pull them up. Bella had on a multicolored nightgown that said Believe or had a unicorn on it. The girls get hot at night, but they don't take off their pajamas. Chris explained sometimes the girls will remove pajama pants if they get hot at night. They went downstairs and the girls wanted more cold pizza for dinner. I don't blame them. They love the pizza because it was so weird that they got it, remember? We saw that. They went downstairs and the girls wanted more cold pizza for dinner. He FaceTimed Shanann's parents with the girls. Oh, because Mama Roo was watching him. Yes, she was. Bella and Cece sat on their little couches and he got them snacks. How cute. He gave Cece vanilla wafers and Bella had some chips. Wow, I love like the mini Nilla wafers. Those things are like crack. They're so good. Even I just read it. I might need to go over my bedroom. Maybe there's some in my nightstand. I'm not confirming or denying that I have Nilla wafers in my nightstand. at all times. Bella, why'd you choose chips, girl? If you could have had Nilla wafers. Nilla wafers are the bomb. The girls ended up swapping their snacks. There you go. Because, Bella, you want the Nilla wafers. He brushed the girls' teeth, had them use the potty, and put them in bed. Here's another thing he does for them. I mean, a dad that does this much hands-on, how could he do the things that were done to these girls? How could he be the one doing it? Did he do this? With the lying he did, with all of these lies, it doesn't look good. Why did he not tell the truth on the things he did? Because if he would have just been straightforward, I mean, who in today's world, and even though it was 4 years ago, who in today's world believes that the CBI and the FBI can't figure out exactly what you have been doing? I mean, really. Okay. So here it says, the girls will lay in bed, but they normally get out of bed after the rain machines are on and the lights are out. Okay, wait. The girls will lay in bed, but they don't normally get out of bed after their rain machines are on and the lights are out. Bella came out twice that time, just because she knew, like Shanann was coming home. So he doesn't lock him in. He won't participate in that behavior. Bella came out of her room and asked if Shanann was home yet. He told Bella Shanann would be there when she woke up. Cece never came out of her room after he put her to bed. Sunday evening, Shanann texted him and told him about the power being out in Arizona from the dust storms. So the power was out. They couldn't find a crew. I get it. Shanann told him her friends Addie and Cindy paid for her dinner. Shanann's flight ended up getting delayed. Well, there's a car going by very slow past my house here. Is it a scumbag attacker? Okay. She was just ready to be home, be with us, and just kind of like be around us. Shanann was supposed to be home at 11 p.m. before her flight got delayed. Shanann didn't end up getting home until 2 a.m. He felt Shanann get into bed. Okay, so he was up there. The doorbell motion sensor picked Shanann up as she walked to the front door. The doorbell motion sensor picked Shanann up as she walked up to the front door, which he explained he saw on his phone later that day, Monday. The doorbell alert is tied to his entire home security system. They have alerts on their front door, rear sliding door, garage doors, basement door, and motion sensors in their living room and basement at the garden level. It will alert if a door is open for a certain period of time. They only use the living room and basement motion sensors when they leave and to set it to, in parentheses, away. He couldn't check the surveillance system for any clues surrounding Shanann and the girl's disappearance because there'd been so many alerts and the history didn't go back that far. What? He's not sure how many events his surveillance system can store. Yeah, that doesn't make sense because you should be able to definitely see the last 24 hours. Okay, so we're on Discovery page 591. Hubbers is yelling at the game again. So it says, the only thing he saw that was strange, that when he left for work, the surveillance system said the garage door was left open at 5:27 a.m. Okay, so the garage door was left open. Okay, so only thing he saw that was strange, that when he left for work, the surveillance system said the garage door was left open at 5:27 a.m. Okay, so he can see that alert, and that is where he should have left at. If he's saying he couldn't see because there's too many notifications or whatever, well, he saw this, and then you're really only looking for anything around and to that point and after. Okay. Ooh, okay. So this is where his attorney could definitely put in reasonable doubt, because here is another nugget of information here, because it says, at 5:27 it says the garage door is left open. Didn't he shut the garage door? A minute before receiving the notification that the garage door was left open, there was another notification stating the basement door on main floor leading down to basement, was left open. So at 5:26, the basement door on main floor leading down to basement was left open. Okay. This is where a lot of the conspiracy theories come in with the second person theory. If there was a second person and he was involved in it, wouldn't he have turned off the alarm system so this wouldn't be notifying everybody? But he's not smart enough to not know not to lie about the basic things they're going to find out. If you're in a polygraph, your wife is missing anyway. Why would you not say, yeah, I've been having an affair? I mean, why not? Let me see here. Okay, so if he gets that at 5:26 and 5:27, didn't we see something that said he didn't leave until... Let me see. Okay. He saw that it was strange when he left for work. The surveillance system said the garage door was left open at 5:27. A minute before receiving the notification that the garage door was left open, there was another notification stating the basement door on main floor leading down to basement, was left open at 5:26 a.m. The prosecutor and his defense attorney would have a heyday with this, because if you're a man, we'll say you're a man and you're driving to work and you just left and you know that your kids and your wife are there and you get a notification that the garage door was left open, you'd be like, oh my God, did I not shut it all the way? And you'd turn your ass around and go and make sure that garage door is down, because that's a huge vulnerable point. But if you got a thing the minute before saying that the basement door was left open, how was it left open if he went out? Did he leave out the basement? No, he left through the garage door. You'd be turning around, hauling your ass, and probably having the police on the way. And you'd be trying to call your wife and be like, are you okay? I just got a notification that the basement door... Yeah, this is fishy. Real fishy. It says he did not recall seeing the basement door open when he looked around the house for Shanann and the girls. Okay. He usually works out in the basement, but he didn't work out the morning of August 13th, 2018. Ooh, so he has a routine that he usually works out in the morning, and he didn't that morning. That's also something that the prosecutor would have a heyday with. But then the defense attorney would be like, look, he's tired from those kids running him ragged all weekend. He didn't feel the need to work out. And he had the emotional conversation with Shanann, so he couldn't have worked out because he was having the emotional conversation. Now it says the surveillance system is called Vivint, and it's on an app on their cell phone. So yeah, he would have gotten that when he was driving. The surveillance system uses Shanann's email, ShanannWatts@gmail.com, and password 428491SW. The surveillance system was installed a few years ago. Now, in parentheses, with regard to what happened when Shanann got in bed Monday morning, August 13, 2018, he felt Shanann get into bed. He sleeps facing the wall on the right side, and Shanann sleeps on the left side of the bed. Okay, let's do that, because this might explain the way that she was found with her head leaning in a westerly way. Because, let me see, if I'm trying to grab a piece of paper here. You're set then done. Okay, so he sleeps on. Let's do, okay, so if you are looking straight into your bedroom, let's see. He sleeps facing the wall on the right side. So Chris Watts is on the right side of the bed facing wall. So then he says she sleeps on the left side of the bed. What is she facing? I guess I have to look at the house a little bit more to see what she's facing, because if he says he's facing the, like, the bathroom, or because she sleeps on the left side. So then sleeping on the left side. Okay. So he sleeps facing the wall right side, and Shanann sleeps on the left side of the bed. He did not believe Shanann unpacked her suitcase because it was still at home. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He did not believe Shanann was using her cell phone after she got in bed. Okay. With regard to Shanann's normal nightly routine, Shanann would brush her teeth, use makeup remover, take balance, and lay in bed and text or call people. Okay. Shanann would charge her cell phone next to her bed. Shanann had an Apple Watch and would take it off and charge it each night. Shanann sleeps in a t-shirt and underwear. She's not a nightgown kind of girl. I would figure her for some nice jammies, maybe from Soma. I am too fat and busty to get a nightgown, a beautiful nightgown from Soma. But if I wasn't, if I had a svet little body like SW did, I would wear beautiful nightgowns like I see at Soma. I'm just going to tell. That's what I would like. I would like to be able to be a person who could wear beautiful nightgowns like that. Instead, my fat ass wears the pajamas that I can find that are cute from Torrid. So anyway, little tidbit about Tabitha Jane. Shanann, okay, it says, that morning, Monday, Shanann was wearing a t-shirt and underwear. We know from reports they were thong style. Shanann always wore her wedding ring to bed. Oh, I don't think I've ever wore a ring to bed. I've never. That would freak me out, as stated previously. Shanann would only take off her wedding ring to color her hair. Shanann never stopped wearing her wedding ring, even though they discussed separating. Shanann wore her wedding ring to Arizona. It was very unusual that Shanann's wedding ring was left in the nightstand. Shanann colored her hair the week before in North Carolina, so she did not color it at home. He got up at 4 a.m. and got ready for work. He went downstairs and made a protein shake, packed his lunch, filled up his water jug, collected his book bag, got his computer, and put more tools in his truck. Chris described his work truck as being parked on the corner of the house west side. Shanann told him the night before to wake her up when he went to work so she could shower. He woke Shanann up because he didn't want to assume she wanted to sleep, and he knew he needed to do what she said because he didn't want to make her mad. He slipped back into bed and rubbed Shanann's shoulder and head to wake her up slowly. He was on top of the covers and was fully dressed in his work clothes. He asked Shanann if she wanted to wake up and take a shower. Shanann said yes, and he asked her if they could talk a little bit. Shanann agreed, so he told Shanann they needed to sell the house and downsize. Okay, little side note. Woman's pregnant. She'd been through how many airplanes, not feeling good, etc., etc. Even she said, in this made up scenario, wake me up before you go because I gotta take a shower, because I gotta go take the girls and everything. Don't wake up a pregnant woman. Leave the house and call so you don't get your hand bitten off or anything else. Poor husband had to try and wake me up today 3 times. I told him, I said, wake me up by noon because I don't want to sleep the day away. Because still, with my surgery, my shoulder hurts so much at night still. I'm still having a lot of problems trying to keep it in a good space to sleep at night. And I go to the surgeon tomorrow to have a recheck. I'll ask him how in the F I'm supposed to sleep. I'm doing okay otherwise. But I'm not getting to sleep until like 6 in the morning because I'm trying to get comfortable with it. So he comes in like he's supposed to at 12. I'm like, wake me up in an hour. Comes back in an hour. Another hour. Another hour. And I'm like, all right, I'm up. I'll go take a bath. I mean, it took like that. And I'm not pregnant. I'm just old and crabby. But anyway. He slipped back into bed and rubbed Shanann's shoulders and had to wake her up slowly. I mean, that's nice. But it didn't happen this way. But, makes for a good story, right? He was on top of the covers and was fully dressed in his work clothes. He asked Shanann if she wanted to wake up and take a shower. Shanann said yes and asked if they could talk a little bit. Shanann agreed. Then he told Shanann they needed to sell the house and downsize. Their mortgage was $2,700 per month. Okay? So the mortgage is $2,700 a month. $2,700 a month. And I think that is accurate for that size and house. And it says their mortgage was $2,700 a month. They lived in their home since May of 2013. So they had the house, because then this was August of 2018 that they were talking. Okay. Shanann had already contacted the realtor the week before. So Shanann called the realtor while she was still in North Carolina. So then where they say that the realtor called Christopher that Monday morning, like when he was on his way to work or whatever, could be accurate because she could have gotten that message, done the market assessment or whatever, and then told him. But then she would have told him that, hey, the house payment hasn't been made. So, I don't know. Shanann had already contacted the realtor the week before. Okay, so she's on board with selling the house. She knows it. He suggested they get a less expensive house in Brighton or Northglenn. Okay, so here he is saying he suggested they get a less expensive house in Brighton or Northglenn. Okay, so that's saying they're together. They're going to sell the house and get a smaller house together. But then it says he told Shanann he didn't feel a connection with her anymore. Okay, well, what is it, buddy? Are we going to go and get a smaller house together? Or are we not going to be together? This doesn't make any sense. He told Shanann their relationship wasn't working and the love they had for each other in the beginning was gone. Shanann cried and it was very emotional. Shanann was upset and she asked him if there was someone else. He told Shanann there was no one else and it was just him talking to her about their relationship. This isn't like somebody came into my life and took me from you. There's no outside influence coming from this. Bullshit. Shanann believed him that he didn't have anybody else in his life. Well, I don't think so. Shanann wouldn't have an affair on him, and she knows he would never cheat on her. The only time Shanann was suspicious of him was early in their relationship when they first started dating and he was still getting messages from other women. Shanann had full access to his cell phone and often used it to make posts on Facebook about Thrive. He never logged into Shanann's Facebook and only did recently because the police and news crews wanted to see pictures. He and Shanann talked from about 4:15 until 5 a.m. Now, this doesn't make sense anyway, because why would you have a conversation like that when you just get back into town? And that, why wouldn't you talk that evening? Why wouldn't you plan to talk that evening or whatever? Who's going to talk like this? And she's got her doctor's appointment. She just got back into town. That would never have made for a good time to have a conversation. This has disaster written on all over it. If she really was asleep, you should have just let her be asleep. And I probably would not be here in the middle of the night talking about this again 4 years later, you know? He hoped that he and Shanann could sell their house and each leave with some money. Well, that's not going to happen. He hoped Shanann would stay in Colorado because Shanann told him in the past that if they separated, she couldn't afford to live in Colorado on her own. He hoped they could split the money from their home and still live close to each other. Yeah, little does he know. During their talk, he and Shanann never got physical with each other. He and Shanann have never raised a hand to one another or struck each other for any reason. Okay, we know that's not true. We know that he talked about a time where she beat him all the way out to the porch. This whole 9-hour, 10-hour thing with a Tamburglar was full of malarkey. I mean, now I'll have to go back and figure out where it said that Shanann bragged that she did that, because was it in a book? What am I even? Now I'm so confused because of this whole thing. But you know what? Bottom line, something happened when she got dropped off by NK. And the next morning. So this whole thing is not true. This whole thing is a pipe dream. Because something terrible happened between midnight and 5 a.m. of August 13th, 2018. He and Shanann rarely even yell at each other. When he and Shanann talk, it's pretty civil. After he talked to Shanann, he backed his work truck, F-250, up to his garage door so he could load his large, clear containers, O-rings, earbuds, and some combination wrenches from his personal toolbox. Chris explained he normally takes his tools out of his work truck every Friday and backs up to his garage door and loads his tools when he returns to work after the weekend. His work truck was backed up about an eighth of the way into the garage because Shanann's car was parked inside. Okay, this is interesting because for all the people that say that they can see, can't see, blah, 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 what he was loading into the garage, there's no way to see, because if he opened it up and then backed it in enough, unless you're standing there in the garage or you're across the street, there's no way you could have seen if he loaded bodies into the back. He had it backed up, so neighbor Nate couldn't have seen if he loaded bodies up. He backed into the garage, which is not, I mean, like when I am backing up and putting groceries, bringing the groceries in or whatever, I don't back it up into the garage. I back it up near the garage and then open the garage door if another car is inside. I don't back it into the garage. His work truck won't fit in the garage because it's too long. It took him approximately 10 minutes to load his work truck. He loaded his truck from 5:15 a.m. until approximately 5:25 a.m. So then, yeah, wouldn't you shit your pants if you saw somebody opening the door at 5:26 and 5:27? You're getting those as you left? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. He got into the truck, hit the button for the garage door to close, and drove to work. With regard to his work Monday morning, he took Saratoga Trail, right on Windham Hill Parkway, right at a roundabout to County Road 7, left on County Road 52, took County Road 52 east to I-76, took I-76 to Rogan, and then drove out to Survey Ranch, possibly on County Road 386. He located in his area. When he arrived at work, he went to Survey 19, Survey 1129, Survey 1029, and Survey 629. Chris later estimated Anadarko's oil well sites cover approximately 10 to 20 square miles. Chris explained there is also a large number of cattle, sheep, and irrigation spots on the property. When he arrived at work at approximately 6:45 a.m., he first went to Survey 319, oil well site. No one was there when he arrived, but Troy McCoy, Melissa Parrish, and Chad McNeil showed up. Okay. So, when he arrived, and everybody else arrived, when he arrived at 6:45, he first went to Survey. No one was there, but the others showed up. Cody Roberts was working, but he was working at Survey 1029. Cody Parrish and McNeil arrived at Survey 19 around 7:15 to 7:30 a.m. Okay, so if we go through the scenario of what most people think happened, he would have had to have. He arrived at work at 6:45 a.m. He arrived at work at 6:45 a.m. Went to Survey. McCoy, Parrish, and McNeil arrived at Survey 19 at between 7:15 and 7:30. So he had exactly 30 minutes to put both girls in separate tanks and bury Shanann in 30 minutes or less. There's no way. There's no way. There is no way. There's no way. There's no way. I mean, and I guess I have to go back and recheck and see it with everybody else, with every other thing, if those times are accurate. But for right here, there's just no way. There's no way. There's no way. He was trying to pressure test the line to see if he could find a leak. McCoy, Parrish, and McNeil weren't at Survey 319 when he arrived because most days the workers either go to the office or the oil or the field first. He knew Roberts had a leak at Survey 319 over the weekend, so Chris wanted to check it out and make sure they didn't have a health, safety, or environmental issue on their hands. Okay? You're the one with the gas can in the back of your truck, sir. That's probably the only issue. Let's see. I asked Chris if it was normal for him to leave his house around 5:30 a.m. and arrive at the oil well site at 6:45 a.m. I'll usually leave between 5:30 and 6 o'clock, somewhere out there. I just knew it'd take us a little while to get out there. I wanted to be out. Like, we usually like to start work at 6:30. He did not stop anywhere along his trip to work on Monday morning. He did not see anyone he knew on the way to work. He called McCoy, Roberts, and McNeil while he was out at the oil field, but the calls wouldn't go through. He worked at Survey 319 from 6:45 a.m. until approximately 8 a.m. He worked at Survey 629 until approximately 8:30 a.m. Chris explained no other workers were at Survey 629 when he was there. So he was there from 6:45 to there. Worked at Survey till 8:30. He drove over to Survey 1129 at 9 a.m. to see if it was ready to run, and it wasn't. He left Survey 1129 at 10 a.m. Okay, so let me go back here. I was going to go through. He worked at Survey 319 from 6:45 to 8. So you said they arrived. Okay. At 10 o'clock a.m., he drove to Survey 1029 and stayed there until he left to come home at 1. And then parentheses, with regard to the policies pertaining to having civilians in his work truck. Bella and Cece have played in his truck a few times. Shanann has been in his truck to see what he had in there, but she had never ridden in his truck. They are only allowed to take other Anadarko employees and trainees in their work trucks. With regard to if he made any phone calls while he was at work, he texted Roberts, McCoy, and McNeil and ended up calling and talking to Epple to let him know he was out at the Survey Ranch. He texted Shanann and also tried to call Shanann, but she didn't answer and her call went to her voicemail. He called Atkinson after he received the front door bell alert. Atkinson told him Shanann hadn't answered anyone. She could see the shoes. Shanann wore home from the airport sitting inside the front door, and Shanann's car was in the garage. He wouldn't know if Shanann had other pairs of shoes missing because she has an entire shoe closet, he says. On his way home from work to let him know they couldn't find Shanann or the kids. And then in parentheses, with regard to if he called Primrose School. Yeah, I don't remember what time that was, but I asked if the kids were there. And then in parentheses, I asked Chris if he had any other conversation with Primrose that morning. He said he told Primrose that they were more than likely going to put the house up for sale, and he wasn't sure if the kids would be staying in the area. He told Primrose he wanted the kids to stay on the waiting list. Primrose is on Mondays for the week, and Monday was going to be the girls' first day back. With regard to the route he took to get home, he drove I-76 west to County Road 52 west and took it home. Then in parentheses, with regard to Chris's financial situation, says, last year he and Shanann spent approximately $25,000, over $500 each week for their daughters to attend Primrose School. Why is it that it is said, because now I feel like a moron because I had repeated what I was told by a person who I thought had credible information, that their school was paid by some grant through the state because there was a family issue. If Christopher Watts is stating that on page 528 of this discovery, he is saying that Primrose cost $25,000 over $500. I'm writing this down. Over $500 each week for their daughters to attend Primrose School. How in the heck? When they sat down with a bankruptcy person and they stated and swore that they went through financial counseling, did they think that they could afford $25,000 a year in daycare? My God. And she's saying that she's a stay-at-home mom. A stay-at-home mom that spends $25,000 a year in daycare? Yeah. She was paying so she didn't have to deal with them. That's what this was. That's not a stay-at-home mom. This is a stay-at-home mom by definition, that she's a mom and she's at home, but you don't pay for daycare. Okay, and then it says he and Shanann had insurance, but the surgery was over $100,000. Okay. He paid for $500 a month for health insurance through Anadarko. Okay. I don't think that was in the bankruptcy that I looked up. Okay, because then it says here. Shanann handled all of the finances, so he did not know how much they had left to pay on her medical bills. Because this legend was that the surgery. Okay, it says Shanann had surgery on a compressed disc in her neck last year. He and Shanann had insurance, but the surgery was over $100,000. Okay. It was said that it was an elective surgery and that it wasn't paid for by insurance or whatever. So this is just, here's another, we know that he's saying so many lies here, we don't know. Because then it says here, Shanann handled all of the finances, so he did not know how much they had left to pay on her medical bills. Cece had acid reflux, and they had medical bills related to her endoscopies. How many endoscopies would you have before the age of 3? What the? Oh my God. Endoscopies? Yet you would need maybe one so they could see what was going on to make sure, and then leave it alone. And as we found out in the video that I've read off of their previous bankruptcy, very little was medical bills, so this is all just bullshit. They had numerous medical bills related to Cece's allergy testing, Cece's blocked tear duct, and both girls had tubes in their ears and their adenoids removed. Both of his girls had inhalers for child asthma. Cece took Singular for her allergies, and Bella and Cece took medication for acid reflux. Oh, they both did. And they owe approximately $8,000 to $10,000 in credit card debt. And their Lexus was paid for by Lavelle Thrive through a car allowance. Yeah, that's what he believed, but that's not true. So they were back in debt to $8,000 to $10,000 in credit cards after they had just filed bankruptcy. Listen to my bankruptcy video if you guys haven't. You'll be surprised learning everything. Now, they both knew exactly what the financial situation was. And if he's paying $500 a month for insurance, he probably has pretty decent insurance that's covering most of this. But yes, there is always going to be a cost, and there are copays for whatnot. If she would have just been a decent mother and not changed doctors all the time and went to doctors that did what she said, because both girls having tubes in their ears on the same day we found out, and their adenoids, no. Okay, I'm going to walk away from that because otherwise I'm going to watch out. Here we go. He and Shanann filed for bankruptcy 2 years prior. He does not recall how much was discharged during the bankruptcy. Well, why not? He knew when the kids returned to school that they would be living paycheck to paycheck. Shanann recently took out $10,000 from his 401k to catch up on their mortgage payments. Look at this. Here we go. What in the hell? Why was I so dumb? I had listened to this creator, who, like I said, I thought was credible, but apparently that creator, who likes to bash everybody else for not knowing the case, has never heard or seen the discovery, because the biggest question on that creator's thing was, oh yeah, well, where'd they get this $10,000 for? Well, blah, 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 blah. And then somebody who was on their panel figured out it was from a retirement fund. Well, was probably told by somebody, obviously. It was right here in the freaking discovery for... I'm Watson out. Okay? It says right here it was from his 401k. So they took out $10,000 from the 401k. It is right here in the discovery. So people who would actually knew about the case would know that's exactly how. It was a mystery about it, because then it was said that it was taken out of his retirement because they were getting a divorce. So when they finally said that that was a thing, no, because it says here to catch up on their mortgage. Now I don't know if that can be done. I do know that there are very specific incidents that make it, but God, why wouldn't people who have a channel that they have, you know what? I'm not going to make sense out of nonsense. I'm just really surprised. Just absolutely freaking floored. Because the facts and the truth are in this discovery. And the more and more that I read from this discovery, I'm like, why wouldn't anybody just go to the facts and the truth and look at it? And like I say, hold on, because once I'm done with this discovery, I have so many more documents to read to you. That bankruptcy that I read to you guys was just scratching the surface. This discovery, we're making a deeper scratch, but there's so much more that I found that I have to read to you guys. That's all facts and the truth. And that's how we will move forward with this. Going forward with the facts and the truth. So it says here, they were 3 months behind on their mortgage payments. How did he find out? And if he thought that she was making as much as him, how did he figure out that they did it? So he thought they were 3 months late. Okay, so they took $10K to catch up. And then they use it on all of these airplane fees because all of the airfare that I figured out before would have pretty much eaten up that $10K. So Shanann recently took $10,000 out from his 401k to catch up on their mortgage payments. Chris believed the loan against his 401k was taken out approximately 5 months ago. He would have had to have signed all the documents and had them notarized. It's not like she can just go and take it. So he's trying to place blame on her right here with that because he knew he would have been the one that approved that. Okay. So in 2 years they racked up 10,000 more in credit cards, had more medical. I think a third child would be a good idea. All right. So then let's see. 3 months late, they had received a letter from Chase Bank pertaining to their delinquent home loan. So that's how he found out. He and Shanann were stressed out about their financial situation. Oh, yeah, it's obviously found out. He currently owes his mortgage payment for August 2018, which is due tomorrow. He currently has $2,000 in his Chase checking account and approximately $15,000 in their USAA account. So why would he have been concerned about paying however much he did at the Lazy Dog? Yeah, she'd see it, so what? And then why would her hair care things be bounced if that's true? Because let's say, so he has $2K in Chase checking, $1,500 in USAA. Okay, and then he says she always has $100 in her purse. Well, if they're walking around with this kind of cash, they have this kind of cash. Why are they not making their things? And this is important to me because I always assumed that like she was out of town and he saw that she hadn't been making the house payments and he flipped out on her when she got home and he confronted her and all hell broke loose. That was how I figured out. Well, if he was well aware of this, this makes even less sense to me. I might just walk away from the Watts thing and I'll once and for all just flush it all down the toilet. This is so crazy. So it says almost all of their credit cards are maxed out. Shanann had only been paying the minimum payment on their cards. So he doesn't have any idea that she's not making any income is what's going on here. Then it says with regard to life insurance, he has a policy on Shanann and the girls through Anadarko. Okay, that's pretty standard. Bella and Cece each had a $20,000 policy, and Shanann had a $50,000 or $100,000. He has his own policy, and he believes Shanann may have gotten another life insurance policy on her own. Shanann got their policies through his cousin's wife, Nicole Kennedy, so he does not know how much they are. Okay, is this the same wife that set them up? And it's another Nicole? Oh, good Lord. Let me see. So, and then is that the cousin who was calling in? Oh my word. Okay, so cousin's wife. Isn't that Honorati chick? So she works for an insurance place, which is, oh my god. And Mama Roo, Shanann's mother, had this dream that this is what Christopher was going to do, and she woke up and called and got life insurance policies on Shanann and the girls. She just simply called her niece. Oh, Jesus. Oh my god. Okay. Because then it says Nicole Kennedy. So that's not the right cousin. Shanann got their policies through his cousin's wife. Okay, I messed up. Sorry about that. I just thought. Well, I think it's weird that Shanann's mother got the insurance policies when she had this vision that this was going to happen. Still trying to make sense out of it and how it didn't raise a flag to anybody. So I thought, well, that makes sense. Well, now it makes less sense. Because, okay, so Shanann got their policy through his cousin's wife. Okay, so Chris's cousin's wife is Nicole Kennedy. And she got the insurance policies. Okay. Ooh, now the plot thickens. Shanann and Nicole had a falling out over a money thing. Shanann and Nicole had a falling out over a money thing. And then it says, he believed Nicole and Shanann's old boss believed Shanann had embezzled money from the business. Shanann's old boss owned a bunch of wheel shops. Okay, this does not make sense. Shanann got their policy through his cousin's wife, Nicole Kennedy. Shanann and Nicole had a falling out over a money thing. I mean, obviously that would have been before. He believed Nicole. It says he when they're talking about. So it's saying Chris believed Nicole and Shanann's old boss believed Shanann had embezzled money from the business. Okay. We're here. So the Chris's cousin, the one who set him up, owned a bunch of wheel shops. Okay. Wheel shops. It was called the Dirty South, and it's really cool, and it has its own music, its own culture, its own clothing line. It's everything. It's not a wheel shop. It's a real cool lifestyle. Okay? You can get the security system. You can get it. You can be all Dirty South. Riding dirty with Dirty South. So Shanann and Nicole had a falling out over a money thing. Chris believed, so I'm going to say instead of he, I'm going to put this together, try to figure it out. So he's saying, yeah, Shanann and Nicole, so why would she still get the insurance policies if they had a falling out? And this says he believed Nicole and Shanann's old boss believed Shanann had embezzled money from the business. Okay? Shanann's old boss owned a bunch of wheel shops. He believed the accusation against Shanann occurred around 2010, which was right before Chris met Shanann. Oh, just right before. Shanann and her old boss are still good friends, and her old boss has been contacting people around the world about her disappearance. So this is like where, so when did Hashem, I think I said his name right, call Chris about her disappearance and tell him that he's calling people around the world? Where does he think she went without her wallet, car, shoes, meds for the kids? Frickin' Paris? And then it says he has not talked to Kennedy for years. This whole thing does not make sense. But anyway, like I was saying, how could she get the policies if they had a falling out and they don't get along? All right, moving on. In parentheses, with regard to what he believed happened to Shanann, Bella, and Cece, he says, in parentheses, like the first day I thought she was with somebody. He thought Shanann was decomposing at a friend. Dear Lord, did I say that? Decompressing. My silly mind here. He thought Shanann was decompressing at a friend's house. He now believes Shanann is not safe, possibly in trouble, or somebody has hurt her and the kids. Next, I asked Chris if he could pass a question on the polygraph related to if he physically caused Shanann's disappearance. Chris replied, yes. I asked Chris to tell me what the question meant to him and what he believed I was asking. Chris stated, I feel like you're asking me, did I have anything to do with it myself? Or did I help somebody do it? And I had no part in any of that. I then asked Chris to tell me all the ways someone could physically make someone disappear. Chris replied, I mean, like, if you're, like, talking about, like, what I've seen on the movies or, like, how, like, people, if you read about other people, side note, he got the like herpes from NK. Remember, she says like all the time. Now he got it. He got the like herpes. So he goes, hold on, I have to take a drink here. Y'all know it's Gatorade. Done with my tea. All right. I mean, like, you hire, like, somebody, like a hitman. I'm just being honest. I asked Chris to think about all of the possible scenarios in his head. And he said he could hire someone, or a person would use somebody they know to do it, in parentheses. At that point, Chris giggled and told me it was a hard question to answer because he had nothing to do with the disappearance. Chris said he didn't like to think about it. I explained to Chris that a person could physically cause another person's disappearance by murdering them. Chris agreed with my statement. I asked Chris to list all of the physical ways a person could cause someone's disappearance through murder. Chris said, stab someone, shoot someone, hit them with a blunt object. What else is there? I mean, use a weapon of like a gun or a knife. And Chris appeared to be thinking, so I said, you could smother someone. Chris repeated what I said, and I immediately said, you could strangle someone. Chris said, you could hang some. Yeah. You can, all those things. I mean, it's hard to even think about that kind of stuff right now. I continued with telling Chris a person could drown, shock, or burn someone to death. I asked Chris if he could think of any other ways to murder someone, and he said, lure them into a trap, I guess. I asked Chris to explain, and he said, you could have someone waiting around the corner and an accident could happen, such as getting hit by a car. told Chris that a person could kidnap another person, and he agreed, and said someone could take a person somewhere and torture them and leave them without food or water. Chris then stated that a person could poison another person or beat them to death as a way to make them disappear. I asked Chris if he would have an issue with that question on the test, and he said he could definitely pass that question. I explained to Chris that I wanted him to make sure that I only wanted people to know if he physically caused Shanann's disappearance. I told Chris that sometimes people can feel guilty for causing someone to leave, such as telling a spouse you wanted to be separated. And Chris said, "That's why I feel like a jackass right now." And I reiterated to Chris that the test was only to ask if he physically caused her disappearance by murder, kidnapping, etc., not just caused her to leave because she was upset over their conversation Monday morning in bed. I explained to Chris that I was only going to ask him about Shanann on the test. I told Chris that it wasn't hard to assume that Shanann and the girls were most likely somewhere together. Chris asked, "That's going to loop the kids in with it though, right?" I explained to Chris the polygraph test I was going to administer was only going to ask him questions about Shanann. Next, I told Chris I was going to ask him on the polygraph test if he was lying about the last time he saw Shanann. Chris replied, "No." I asked Chris to describe the last time he saw Shanann, and he said the last time he saw her, she was in bed after he talked to her. Chris said Shanann was lying in bed and had just told him she was going to take the girls to a friend's house and she would be back later. Chris said Shanann was lying on her right side and she had mascara running down her face. Chris explained Shanann didn't take her makeup off before she went to bed that morning. Chris said the last time he saw his children was on the baby monitor as it was cycling back and forth. I told Chris I had to talk about the worst case scenario and told him if he murdered Shanann, that image he described would not have been the last time he saw her. Chris said, "I know. I agree with that." I told Chris if he murdered Shanann in the house, she was obviously removed at some point, so her lying in the bed would not have been the last time he saw her. Chris said he agreed. Lastly, I told Chris I wanted to ask him on the polygraph if he knows where Shanann is now. Chris replied by saying, "I do not." I told Chris he was cooperating with the missing person investigation, and the question centered around him actually knowing the location of Shanann, but not telling the police. I told Chris that Shanann could have called him and told him her whereabouts, or if he actually murdered her, he would know the location where he or someone else dumped Shanann's body. I told Chris that if the last time he saw Shanann, she was in bed crying, he would be able to pass the question because we all knew Shanann was no longer in bed. Okay, so I am going to stop at this point because I am over the 2-hour mark, and I think that there's a lot of information in here, and I don't want to, overwhelm people, as this is pretty intense. Oh crap, did I go 3 hours here? I'm sorry. I went 3 hours. So we got through pages 504 to 530, and discovery page 571 to 597. That's pretty good. we're making some progress, but this is some deep stuff. And I am, like I say, I'm so disgusted that I believe somebody who didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. But you know what? I I'm sometimes really, really gullible, and I think that people know what they're talking about when they actually don't. And I think that that's becoming apparently very, very clear as I read through this discovery and find out that those people who sit there and say, "Oh, you don't know the case. You don't know the case." You know what? They don't know the case. Again, at the beginning, where you should always start, and then go out from there. And then, but anyway, I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna stop recording right now. So thank you for being a part of part 18 of the Watts Discovery series, with commentary, whether you like it or not, from yours truly, Tabitha Jane. And we will go over here. And there we go. And you know, this is the goodbye screen. So, goodbye. I'll record again soon. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for the love. Ask your questions, do your comments. We will get to them at some point, especially when I'm getting ready to go live one of these days. One of these days, I'll let you know when, but I'm getting the questions. So ask your questions, put your statements in, whatever, you know. Email me at tabithajane0@gmail.com. Good stuff here. Thanks for being along on the journey of the truth. Thank you. Bye-bye.